Chapter 498. Phew, Chen Hao, who had faced countless life and death situations, had not been able to shake his state of mind. However, this time, it took him a full minute to calm himself down. Beep, beep, beep. Chen Hao contacted Heavenly Master Yuanru and reported his new location. A few minutes later, Heavenly Master Yuanru finally appeared in front of Chen Hao. Little junior brother, why did you change your location? Heavenly Master Yuanru asked curiously. In fact, Heavenly Master Yuanru only had to teleport to Yang City and rush to the place where Chen Hao had appeared, and he could easily capture Chen Hao's aura. After all, Chen Hao was only a few hundred miles away. Nothing. Senior brother, I know nothing about the vast universe galaxy. I just heard someone mention the Yang planet. Does it have anything to do with Yang City? Chen Hao asked curiously. Let's go. We'll talk as we go. I've already contacted Master, and he's on his way back. Let's go to Master's residence first, Chen Hao replied. Although Yang City was called a city, the area it occupied was not much smaller than the central continent of the Wuji star. From this, one could imagine how coincidental it was for Chen Hao to encounter Shi Minfeng and the others, or rather, how unlucky. It can be said that the Yang City of the Second World is the base of all the cultivators on the 1008 planets under the Yang planet's rule. I'm sure you've noticed that entering the Second World has little effect on your original body. You can do whatever you want as long as you multitask. That's why the number of cultivators in the Second World is so terrifying. Many people don't even leave the Second World all year round. Yes, even I don't want to leave here. Whether it's cultivation or sightseeing, it's much better than the outside world. That's true. Take me, your senior brother, for example. If I don't have a great opportunity, the Heaven Celestial Realm will be my final destination. The Heaven Celestial Realm has a lifespan of hundreds of millions of years. Even an Earth Celestial's lifespan of 1,000,000 years is extremely long, let alone a Heaven Celestial like me. Without the possibility of a breakthrough, what else is there to pursue? It was nothing more than enjoying life. Eating, drinking, playing, and finding some fun of their own, and this was undoubtedly the best place to do so. However, such people were in the minority, and they were all people with powerful backgrounds. Many people, like Master, including me and my 3 senior brothers, who could relax. The meaning of our lives is not just to live for ourselves. Sigh, let's not talk about this. Heavenly Lord Yuanru changed the subject and said, when you step into the human celestial realm, you can start your journey in the starry sky. Of course, it's far from enough just relying on yourself. As you can see, there are a lot of human celestials in the Yang City. Although many of them are below the human celestial realm, they are different from you. You're a true genius of the Wuji planet, so you're qualified to get the soul helmet in advance. Most of them are disciples from powerful planets. Although it's not easy to get the soul helmet, at least it's much easier than on the Wuji planet. Oh, senior brother, I feel that the aura of those blessed realm cultivators, whether it's their bodies or souls, is not weak. They're on par with the ordinary celestials on the Wuji planet. Yes. It's related to the planet's bloodline inheritance. In fact, the rules of the vast universe galaxy don't determine who can enter the second world according to their realm, but according to their combat strength. To tell you the truth, the Wuji planet's inherited bloodline, talent, and strength are relatively weak in the vast universe galaxy. Some of the creatures from powerful planets are born in the Xiantian realm, and their combat strength is stronger than our Xiantian realm cultivators. Their most ordinary blessed realm cultivators can challenge our human celestial realm cultivators. If it weren't for Master's heaven-defying talent and cultivation, the Wuji planet would have been reduced to a slave planet. Ahem, we're back to this topic again. Let's not talk about this. Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not want to give Chen Hao too much psychological pressure from the beginning, but Chen Hao's question was automatically diverted to this topic once he explained. It could not be helped. The Wuji planet was indeed a little weak. Senior brother, it's all right. Weak is weak. It's not to the extent that I don't dare to face it head-on, nor will I be frightened. Just say what you want to say. Chen Hao smiled faintly and said, Well, I'll say what I want to say. First, I'll give you a general introduction. The galaxy we belong to, the vast universe galaxy, is one of the top 10 galaxies in the universe. The Yang planet is one of the 36 main planets in the vast universe galaxy, and it has control over tens of thousands of planets with life. 1,008 of them are the main planets of the Yang planet. Speaking of which, although the Wuxia planet is at the bottom of the list, it's still much stronger than most of the planets with life. Led by Heavenly Lord Yuanru, the two chatted as they walked toward the center of the city at lightning speed. Even so, it took them 4 hours, and that was with Heavenly Lord Yuanru's speed. If it had been Xianxia, it would have taken him at least 10 days to half a month to arrive. Of course, this was under the rules of time in the second world. In the outside world, it would have taken less than half an hour. Thanks to Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's introduction, Xianxia gained a rough understanding of the entire universe in 4 hours. Human celestial realm cultivators were the most common in the vast universe galaxy. Compared to the Wuxia planet, they were as common as golden elixir realm experts. Earth celestial realm experts could barely be considered low-level experts. Heavenly celestial realm experts were third-rate experts, and Daluo Jingxian experts were second-rate experts. Second-rate experts, or Daluo Jingxian experts, were basically the masters of a planet with life, just like the Wuxia planet patriarch. Above Daluo Jingxian were the real experts. They were first-rate experts, the supreme of Hongmeng. Xianxia also figured out what the danger the Wuxia planet was facing was. Little junior brother, this is Master's palace. When something big happens, Master will summon the upper echelons of the Wuxia planet here for a discussion. Even though the palace was only 100 square miles wide and was only in the second world, its value could be exchanged for 10 top-grade saint artifacts. It could be said that the things in the second world, especially the land, were much more expensive than the outside world. This was not only a symbol of status, but also a symbol of greater authority. When you are strong enough, you will naturally understand. Are sacred artifacts more advanced than spiritual treasures? Also, how do you buy them in the second world? Yes, sacred artifacts are more powerful than spiritual treasures. Even Master doesn't have many top-grade sacred artifacts. I only have 2 low-grade sacred artifacts. As for buying, of course, it is a real-life transaction. However, it is not completely based on immortal core crystals. Otherwise, even Master can't afford it. Ahem. Immortal core crystals are? Don't be embarrassed. It is normal that you don't know. Anyone who has not stepped out of the Wuxia planet would not know. Immortal core crystals are the common currency in the vast universe galaxy. 1 immortal core crystal is equivalent to the amount of heaven and earth spiritual chi that an ordinary celestial realm cultivator can absorb in a month. This is the most basic unit. Third update. The word count did not meet the requirement. It is still too little. I tried my best. Chapter 499. Yuanru? Are you here to recommend another disciple to the patriarch? A cultivator who was about to leave called out when Heavenly Venerate Yuanru led Xianxia into the palace. This cultivator looked like a middle-aged man, but the aura he exuded was not inferior to Heavenly Venerate Yuanru. That alone was enough to surprise Xianxia. What surprised him even more was that this cultivator had addressed Heavenly Venerate Yuanru by his name. That's right, Brother Lu. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru cupped his fists and looked at Xianxia. Little junior brother, let me introduce you. This is Lu Qingyang, Heavenly Venerate Qingyang. His cultivation base is very high, even higher than mine. Moreover, there's still a lot of room for improvement. Yuanru, you called him little junior brother? Could it be? Heavenly Venerate Qingyang, who did not even look at Xianxia, asked Heavenly Venerate Yuanru after taking a look at Xianxia. Yes, Xianxia received the patriarch's last legacy. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru said. That's right. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed. Heavenly Venerate Qingyang looked at Xianxia again, cupped his fists, and walked out of the palace. This Lu Qingyang is more than 1,000 years older than me. His talent isn't amazing, but his luck is extraordinary. Now, I'm afraid even I'm not a match for him. Do you know why he's neither hot nor cold to you? Heavenly Venerate Yuanru asked Xianxia after Lu Qingyang left. Not really, right? Besides, I'm only in the creation realm, Chen Hao said nonchalantly. In his opinion, it was normal for heavenly venerate Qing Yang to ignore him. You can't say that. Anyone who knows your master's last disciple would want to get close to you, but what about him? The creation realm is nothing, but can't he sense that your aura is comparable to that of an earth immortal? This kind of talent is nothing on other powerful planets, but it's absolutely amazing that the bloodline inheritance on the Wuji planet can reach this level. To put it bluntly, he's just mentally unbalanced. Why? It's very simple. His talent wasn't outstanding. In the beginning, he didn't attract the attention of Master at all. He was only treated as an ordinary cultivator. In other words, he didn't receive any better resources. It was only when he broke through to the heavenly celestial stage that Master began to pay attention to him. However, at that time, there were very few people who could help him. It was also because of this reason that he always held a grudge against Master. If Fang Yan had received the same treatment as eldest senior brother, he would have broken through to the Daluo Golden Wonderland long ago. Fortunately, Master was magnanimous. Not only did he not blame him, he even gave him a top-grade saint artifact as compensation. Greetings, Heavenly Sovereign Yunru. Hello, Brother Yuanru. Along the way, all the cultivators they met were either earthly immortals or celestial immortals. But all of them were extremely respectful to Holy Master Yuanru. However, Holy Master Yuanru did not stop. He continued to communicate with Chen Hao through voice transmission. Soon, they arrived at the gate of the core palace, which was the palace of Ancestor Wuji. Senior brother, could it be that only cultivators above the Earth's celestial stage are qualified to stay here? Stay here? Apart from Master, no one is qualified to stay here because there are only a limited number of cultivation rooms. There are 365 Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 cultivation rooms, and 1 Level 4 cultivation room. The Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and Level 4 cultivation rooms are suitable for human immortals, earthly immortals, celestial immortals, and Daluo Jinxian. On the Wuji planet, there are currently more than 156,800 human immortals, more than 19,600 earthly immortals, and 3,432 celestial immortals. It was based on cultivation, contribution, potential, and other factors. The level and time of use of the cultivation room were allocated. Moreover, Master's Palace is not something that can be bought with money. Only the rulers of the 1008 main planets under the jurisdiction of the Yang planet can buy it. In the second world, those with money can also buy a residence, but the cultivation rooms there are incomparable to the ones here. Oh, by the way, Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei bought a small courtyard in the Yang planet for you and your other disciples. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xiaoyu, Tantai Lian, and the twin sisters who are waiting for you all live there. You can go and have a look after you meet Master. Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru was now very clear about Chen Hao's past, including Chen Shui and a few of his close female friends. Furthermore, he was also aware of something even more important. That was Chen Hao's father, Chen Hai. This was first-hand information he had obtained when he was investigating Dongfang Han. Senior brother, why didn't you say so earlier? When will Master be back? How about? Ahem. Don't worry, Master should be back soon. Let's wait here. Creak, as Heavenly Venerable Yunru spoke, the door of the core palace slowly opened. Yuanru, go to the Level 4 cultivation room. I'll give you half a year. Chen Hao, come in. A faint, dignified voice drifted out from the core palace. Just this voice alone had a magical power that could shake one's soul. Thank you, Master. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru bowed, his old face flushed with excitement. Clearly, the Patriarch's reward for him was beyond his expectations. Half a year in the Level 4 cultivation room, what did that mean? The Level 4 cultivation room was suitable for Daluo Jinxian. In the entire Wuji planet, only the Patriarch was qualified to use it. Usually, only peak heavenly immortal powerhouses who had made great contributions to the Wuji planet were qualified to cultivate there for 10 to 15 days. But this time, the Patriarch actually gave him half a year. How could he not be excited? Patriarch Wuji, The legendary Daluo Jinxian? Just that voice alone made me unable to submit or resist. If he wanted to influence my state of mind, it would be too easy. What's even stranger is that I can't remember what his voice sounded like. This is only the second-rate powerhouse Daluo Jinxian. What if it was the first-rate powerhouse Supreme Hongmeng? Chen Hao said to himself, slightly excited. Junior brother, I'll go first. Wait, Chen Shui and the rest contact number and address. You haven't told me, ahem. I'll send you a message. Quickly go and... Heavenly Venerable Yuanru was conflicted. This was a summons from the Patriarch Wuji. If it were anyone else, they would be so nervous and excited that they couldn't control themselves, but this guy was still thinking about Chen Shui and the rest. Alright. With that, Chen Hao took a deep breath, turned around, and walked into the palace. I'm going to have dinner with friends tonight. I'll be back after dinner. I won't drink. I'll try to write another chapter before 12 o'clock. I've made a few appointments since I came back for the new year. I'll feel bad if I don't go. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian. Com. Chapter 500. As soon as Chen Hao stepped in, the thick and solid metal door closed automatically. What a clear fluctuation of the laws of heaven and earth. Chen Hao was already surprised by the laws of heaven and earth in the second world, but the laws of heaven and earth in the limitless ancestor's palace were beyond his imagination. This was only the palace. What if it was in the training room? The spacious hall was thousands of feet in diameter and hundreds of feet in height. In addition to the laws of heaven and earth being easier to comprehend, the energy of heaven and earth was also extremely pure and vigorous. However, Chen Hao realized that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the entire palace was of a high level that he could not refine. Limitless Immortal Palace's Winter Plum Hall disciple, Chen Hao, greets the ancestor. Chen Hao looked around and did not even see the shadow of the limitless immortal venerable. He could only stop and bow to the void. He did not directly call him master. After all, he had not even seen him before and had not even gone through the ceremony. It was also Yuanru Tianzuan who took the initiative to call him senior brother and junior brother. At this time, Chen Hao could not be too casual. After half a minute, there was no response. Chen Hao did not know what was going on, but he maintained his bow and did not move. No matter what, the limitless ancestor was the master of the limitless star. As a member of the limitless star, he should be respected. Not to mention that Chen Hao had obtained the limitless ancestor's most powerful inheritance. Strictly speaking, the limitless ancestor had a great influence on Chen Hao. The art of longevity was Chen Hao's entry skill. However, as time passed, Chen Hao maintained his bow for half an hour, but the limitless ancestor still did not make a sound. What's going on? Chen Hao was very puzzled. Could it be that he's testing my patience? Or is he checking me out? Chen Hao didn't sense any probing aura, but Chen Hao didn't think that the limitless ancestor didn't check on him. The ability of the experts of the Daluo Golden Wonderland wasn't something that Chen Hao could measure. Even if the limitless ancestor saw through him, he wouldn't be able to detect it. A cultivation base of the creation realm, and a soul force that vaguely surpasses that of an earth immortal. Very good. Especially your physical body, it is very special, very special. Just as Chen Hao was feeling a little embarrassed and impatient, a faint, pleasant voice rang out beside him. It was like a gentle spring breeze, or like a drizzle moisturizing something. You are? Chen Hao asked with a slight frown when he turned his head to look beside him. She was wearing a light green dress, and her long black hair was tied behind her back with a pink ribbon. Her eyebrows were thin like smoke, and her eyes were clear and sparkling. Her skin was fair and rosy. At first glance, she looked like the little girl next door, elegant and pleasant, fresh and refined. She looked at most 15 or 16 years old. I am? The girl's clear eyes gazed at Chen Hao. She smiled and said, You are Chen Hao, right? Is the ancestor not back yet? The girl's smile grew wider. She said, He's back. Where are you from? Chen Hao was slightly taken aback. Yes, you don't have to hide it. The aura of your bloodline doesn't belong to the limitless star at all. Why are you lurking in the limitless star? The smile on the young girl's face grew even wider, but her clear eyes seemed to be able to pierce through Chen Hao, carrying with them an endless amount of magic, directly knocking on Chen Hao's soul. Chen Hao's heart skipped a beat, and his expression changed slightly. "I'm from..." Chen Hao couldn't help but seem as if he'd been possessed, and he was about to reveal the secret that he'd never mentioned to anyone, including his closest parents and the woman he loved the most. But, just when the girl thought he would tell her the truth and pricked up her ears to listen, to her surprise, Chen Hao's unfocused eyes suddenly emitted 2 beams of light. "Sorry, miss, I'm here to see the ancestor." "You'd better take me to see the ancestor." Chen Hao's back was already covered in cold sweat, but he calmed down instantly. He hurriedly gathered his aura to the peak and said in a deep voice, "Don't be surprised. Although your cultivation is strong and you're very beautiful, if you want to use this kind of charming skill to confuse me, it's still not enough." Chen Hao saw the girl's slightly surprised eyes, and his dark eyes flashed with 2 beams of confident light. He said rather proudly. The girl's mouth couldn't help but twitch. But soon she smiled again and said, "You pass. But the question just now was what the ancestor wanted me to ask you. Please tell me the truth." "Sorry, you won't tell me? Or you won't admit it? All life on the limitless star is under the ancestor's control. And you are completely outside the limitless star's laws of heaven and earth. You can hide from Yuan Ru, Sky Sovereign and the others, but you can't hide from the ancestor." Faced with the girl's questioning, Chen Hao frowned. It was inevitable that he was surprised. He really didn't expect the ancestor to be able to see through his soul with a glance. But at this moment, Chen Hao's heart was more unhappy. After looking at the girl for a few seconds, Chen Hao directly turned around and looked into the depths of the palace. He cupped his fists again and said, "Ancestor, you didn't summon this disciple just to let an insensible little girl make things difficult for me, right? No matter if your judgment is true or false, this is my personal privacy. If you ask me, as a junior, I naturally don't dare to hide it. Why do you want this little girl to use her charming skill on me?" When Chen Hao was speaking, he didn't notice that the girl beside him, her eyes flashed with anger. She opened her mouth to say something, but she couldn't hold it in. "You can leave." Finally, a voice filled with boundless majesty sounded again. "Yes, old ancestor." The young girl cupped her fists respectfully towards the void and then disappeared. Even with Chen Hao's extremely sharp perception, he could not sense the slightest fluctuation of energy. "Chen Hao, you can speak now." A figure that was over 30 meters tall appeared in the spacious hall. The moment he appeared, the energy and the laws of heaven and earth in the hall seemed to stop circulating. Powerful. Incomparably powerful. This was the only feeling Chen Hao had. But, perhaps because of the displeasure just now, Chen Hao felt a little resentful and even a little disappointed. Chen Hao wanted to see the other person's face clearly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't see clearly. Clearly, the ancestor of the limitless star did this on purpose. This made him even more displeased. "What? Are you dissatisfied with the ancestor's actions? This disciple doesn't dare. Ancestor, you supported the billions of lives on the limitless star with your own strength. How can this disciple be dissatisfied with you? But this disciple doesn't know what to say. You've received my inheritance, and it's my most powerful inheritance. I think Yuan Ru should have told you that the limitless star only has 50 years left. If it's me, I can only rely on you. This concerns the life and death of the limitless star. How can I not be careful? It's not uncommon for a foreign tribe to disguise themselves and cause an entire planet to fall." Chapter 501. As for you, your situation is even more special. Ancestor Limitless' tone was heavy, revealing a deep sense of helplessness. 10,000 years ago, I started to prepare for the calamity 50 years later. I thought that I had made sufficient preparations, and as long as any of the 5 great inheritances could be used to the fullest, we would be able to survive this calamity. Apart from that, the limitless star also had hopes of giving birth to true geniuses. But I didn't expect that after 10,000 years, we still couldn't resolve this calamity. Yuan Ru and the other 3 had each obtained my 4 great inheritances, but their talents and aptitudes were slightly inferior. In these 10,000 years, the limitless star also didn't give birth to any genius that met my standards. The limitless Devil Palace, Demon Palace, and Immortal Palace, these three great palace masters came from this. But their achievements were even worse than Yuanru's. Chen Hao's slightly dissatisfied mood gradually calmed down after Ancestor Limitless' narration. And now, you've obtained my strongest inheritance, immortal and indestructible. Just this point alone proves that your state of mind and willpower have reached a height that ordinary people can't reach. State of mind and willpower, on the path of cultivation, the further you go, the more important it is, even more important than soul power. Especially after stepping into the heavenly immortal realm. I'm telling you this, because I want to tell you that I have to find out the reason why you came from, because this concerns the life and death of the entire limitless star, so I can't be careless. If I say that I don't know where I came from, would you believe me? Chen Hao said after pondering for a while. This isn't a matter of whether I believe you or not. The truth is that it's impossible for someone your age to have such a state of mind and willpower. Especially when you obtained my inheritance, and it was snatched from Dongfang Han. Dongfang Han was able to obtain the inheritance, which means that his state of mind and willpower are extremely strong, otherwise he would have died in the inheritance. And you were able to snatch the inheritance from him, which is 10 times more difficult than obtaining the inheritance. It requires an even stronger state of mind and willpower. And this is taking into account that Dongfang Han only started cultivating the art of longevity halfway. So, the only explanation is that your soul has fused together and contains a huge amount of memories. Alright, it's true that I wasn't born on planet Wuji, and I do have some memories. However, those memories only appeared when I was 12 years old, which was the first year I started cultivating. Before that, I didn't know that I was hiding a secret. After that, in this life, other than gaining memories and fusing with my soul, I was still me. Fusing with those memories didn't change me at all, I was still me. My family, Dao companions, brothers, sisters, and friends are all from the boundless star, and so am I. Chen Hao said in an extremely serious manner. Although he didn't like this feeling, he still said it. He was not alone, and he was not living purely for himself. He did not care about the others on the Wuji planet, but once it became a slave planet, what would happen to his family, friends, junior brothers, junior sisters, and beloved Taoist companions? Which planet did the fused soul come from? The infinity sensed that Chen Hao was speaking from the bottom of his heart and asked. A planet called Earth. Chen Hao did not hide it. In fact, at this moment, telling the biggest secret in his heart to an outsider made him feel relieved. Especially since the other party was the ruler of a planet. Who knew, Chen Hao might be able to obtain some information about Earth. Earth? We don't have it in vast universe galaxy. What's the specific situation? What's so special about it? To be specific, Earth is a very small planet with a diameter of only slightly more than 10,000 kilometers. Less than 30% of its surface is land. There are no true cultivators there. Of course, this is only the information in my memory. There are legends, but no one has seen them. The current Earth is developing in a different direction, which is called science. It's completely different from our world of cultivation. Science? The people on Earth can use science to create all kinds of things with various functions. There are also very powerful weapons that only ordinary people can use. Moreover, it has nothing to do with true essence or the energy of heaven and earth. For example, a spaceship that can travel through space, a weapon that can destroy a small planet, etc. That's about it. There's such a thing. That's the truth. Is there no similar planet in our vast universe galaxy? No. Vast universe galaxy. I haven't even heard of it in the top 10 galaxies. There's only one possibility. The Earth you're talking about exists in another universe. Perhaps, the seniors who have reached the supreme realm in Hongmeng would know about it. Alright, I'm clear about your situation now, let's talk about business. 3 hours later, Chen Hao walked out of the core palace with a token given by the Infinity Patriarch. Now, I don't have to worry about my identity anymore. revealing his biggest secret was not as difficult as Chen Hao had imagined. Of course, one reason was that the Infinity Patriarch had seen through him, so he had to say it. Secondly, the Infinity Patriarch's identity did not give him too many scruples. Thirdly, Chen Hao believed that he had an absolute sense of belonging to the Infinity Star. Therefore, whether it was for his family and friends on the Infinity Star or for himself, it was a good thing to reveal it. Even the Infinity Patriarch has never heard of Earth. It seems that it really doesn't belong to this universe. Damn it, I really don't know how I got here. Whatever, I'm just curious. I have no regrets on Earth, and there's no one worthy of attachment. This token is good. Xiao Shui and the others are at East 100 Street number 13902, which is 1.6 billion kilometers from here. At my speed, it would take at least a few days to fly there. Fortunately, the Infinity Patriarch gave me this anonymous wealth card. Hiss. After stepping out of the limitless old ancestor's palace, Chen Hao immediately turned into a stream of light and walked toward the nearby teleportation point. Yang City was extremely huge. The area of the city was comparable to the central continent of the Infinity Star. Experts like Heavenly Lord Yuanru would have no problem flying there. However, Chen Hao could not. Fortunately, the Infinity Patriarch gave Chen Hao a wealth card. The so-called wealth card was, in fact, a bank card used on Earth. It was completely universal in the second world and the vast universe galaxy. Moreover, the consumption in the second world was not inferior to that in the vast universe galaxy. After a while, Chen Hao came to a transmission point. He spent one immortal core crystal and was directly transmitted to the transmission point closest to the residence of Chen Shui and the others. Although Heavenly Lord Yuanru had sent Chen Hao the contact numbers of Chen Shui and the others, this guy did not contact them. The first chapter. The number of words in this chapter is still a little low. The second chapter is about 12 o'clock. I'll write as many words as I can. It should be a chapter of at least 4,000 words. Chapter 502. Phew, Sister Shui, Yang City is too big. Fortunately, Master and the others bought it for us. If it were in other districts, it would take us a few days to get here. The three silhouettes arrived at the entrance of an inconspicuous courtyard at lightning speed and stopped. They were none other than Chen Shui and the Lung sisters. It took them several hours to get here from where they had appeared in Yang City. Yes, but the law of time here is different. It doesn't take long. Well, we won't need to use it when our cultivation base is higher and we can obtain more celestial origin crystals. We have no choice but to use it sparingly. One celestial origin crystal is equivalent to 1,000 supreme-grade primal crystal stones. If the three of us teleport, it'll cost us 3 celestial origin crystals. It's too extravagant. We should save as much as we can here. It had been a few years since Chen Shui left the Wuji star. However, the celestial origin crystals she could obtain were extremely limited. She only had slightly more than 100 wealth cards, which was barely enough for her cultivation. As she spoke, she opened the door of the courtyard with the token. The sisters followed her in. The courtyard was very small. There were only 4 rooms, which were cultivation rooms. Even so, Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei had squandered all their wealth when they bought it. However, it was enough for Chen Shui and the others. You'll cultivate in the room later. Little Wu and Yu Yu are on a mission. They won't be able to divert their attention for a while. Sister Shui, is there still no news from little Lien? No. Chen Shui shook her head and said, I wonder how she's doing now. She had to do such a dangerous mission. Don't follow her example when you get to Yang Planet. Chen Shui was also helpless. Tantai Lien's aptitude and talent were the worst amongst them, but in terms of cultivation level and combat strength, she'd always been closely chasing after them and hadn't fallen behind in the slightest. The reason was very simple. Tantai Lien was crazier and more desperate than any of them. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu and the others both admired and worried about her. How's he doing now? Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru said that Brother Hao should be able to come out of seclusion soon. Moreover, Brother Hao has already refined Dongfang Han, so there shouldn't be any problems. Sister Shui, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, also said that Brother Hao would definitely become the Patriarch's last disciple. Now, the news has spread all over the Wuji planet. Our Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall have already merged. The Palace Master of the Limitless Immortal Palace has given us a great reward. All of our benefits have increased by several times. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru also said that when Brother Hao comes out of seclusion, he will receive a soul helmet. Hee, Sister Shui, you will be able to see Brother Hao without waiting for Brother Hao to break through to the human celestial stage. That's good. It's been a few years. Chen Shui's eyes flashed with a trace of excitement, and her voice actually carried a trace of trembling as she spoke. Although Celestial Venerable Han Mei, Celestial Venerable Yun Wei, and the sisters would tell them about Chen Hao's situation from time to time, when they really heard that Chen Hao was about to come out of his secluded cultivation, they still couldn't control themselves. It wasn't any less than 1 year ago when they heard that Chen Hao had awakened and possessed the soul power of the Earth's celestial stage. Sister Shui, will that Shimin Feng cause trouble for us? It seems that his family is very powerful in the Yang City. His family is indeed very powerful. However, we don't have to worry. In the second world, they can be arrogant, but in the Yang Star, they won't dare to act recklessly. Our patriarch is one of the most powerful Daluo Jinxian. As long as our patriarch is still around, no force will dare to bully us. Speaking of the patriarch of the Limitless sect, Chen Shui's face was brimming with heartfelt respect. Knock knock knock. Just then, to Chen Shui's surprise, there was a knock on the door. Could it be Shimin Feng and his gang? Chen Shui thought to herself. At this time, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tan Tai Lian couldn't possibly come over. Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei would only come over once every 6 months or so. After all, if one wanted to enter the second world on the Limitless Star, one could only enter the Elite Academy in the Spirit City. Moreover, if they came over, they didn't need to knock at all. They only needed to send a message on the token to open the door. Who is it? Chen Shui asked. A muffled sound rang out. Who are you? What's the matter? Chen Shui asked again. The three of them were unfamiliar with the voice that came from outside the door. It was obvious that they didn't know who it was. However, no matter who it was, the three of them didn't have to worry. According to the rules of the second world, any private residence was absolutely safe. Whoever dared to barge in would suffer severe consequences. There's no need to ask who I am. You're Chen Shui, right? I have important news to pass on. Open the door. You were sent by Shimin Feng? Scram as far as you can. Chen Shui said angrily. She concluded that the three of them were followed by Shimin Feng and his gang. Otherwise, they wouldn't have found this place. Cough cough. Who is Shimin Feng? I have nothing to do with him. Was sent by Heavenly Venerable Yuanru. Why, are you afraid that I will do something to you? It's fine if you don't open the door. But if you miss it, it will be your loss. The dull voice sounded again. Chen Shui and the sisters looked at each other. They didn't understand. What kind of news could Heavenly Venerable Yuanru not tell them personally but pass it on? After all, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru knew their contact number. This person is sneaky. Not only did he conceal his aura, but his voice is obviously fake as well. Chen Shui's powerful soul perception had already begun to investigate, but she couldn't capture any of the other party's aura. It was obvious that the other party's cultivation base was higher than hers. Sister Shui, could it be that Brother Hao has woken up? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru is on the Wuji planet. If something happened, he wouldn't be able to come to the second world. Lung Ninghuan said. Chen Hao has woken up? The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener took it seriously. Chen Shui, who was more intelligent than others, couldn't figure out the strange behavior of this person and the reason behind it. However, Lung Ninghuan's casual words made Chen Shui think of a possibility. Who else would be so bored other than him? Although he was still in the blessed realm, his soul realm was already at the peak of the earth immortal realm. If he concealed his aura, how could she catch him? Bam, bam, bam. At this moment, Chen Shui was so nervous that she couldn't control herself. Her heartbeat sped up several times. If you don't open the door, I'm going to leave. Chen Hao concealed his aura to the extreme and blended into everything in the world with a proud expression on his face. Of course, there was also a strong sense of excitement. Especially when he heard Chen Shui's familiar voice, he couldn't wait to leave and expose himself. Clang. Suddenly, the door was opened by a strong force. It scared the three of them. The beautiful sisters of the Lung family didn't understand why Chen Shui was suddenly so nervous and excited and couldn't wait to open the door. Chen Hao thought that he would dawdle for a while before opening the door. Why did it suddenly open? Where is he? Why is there no one? The beautiful sisters of the Lung family looked at the empty door and asked in confusion. As for Chen Shui, who was dressed in a blue dress, it was as if she did not hear the question of the two. She only stared fixedly at the scene before her. Her beautiful and cold face appeared to be extremely excited at this moment. She was so excited that even her graceful and delicate body carried a trace of trembling. Chen Hao, you bastard! Why you still not coming out? Ah! The beautiful sisters looked at Chen Shui stupidly. Chen Hao, who had blended into everything in the world, was also a little dumbfounded. He stared at Chen Shui for a few seconds. Finally, an imperceptible breeze suddenly drifted to Chen Shui's back. Ah, little Shui, I missed you so much. Brother Hao, accompanied by Chen Shui's sudden scream, the beautiful sisters of the Lung family saw Chen Hao. They opened their small mouths and cried out at the same time. Chen Shui struggled for a while, but she didn't struggle out of Chen Hao's arms. Instead, she struggled to turn around and stared at Chen Hao, who was half a head taller than her. Immediately, she threw herself into his strong arms. 11 years later, Chen Hao fell into a coma. A few years later, Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tan Tai Lian broke through to the human celestial stage and left the Wuji star. Since then, they hadn't seen Chen Hao again. And Chen Hao hadn't seen Chen Shui and the others for more than 11 years. Although it was only a reunion in the second world, they couldn't control themselves. Hugging that soft and graceful body and smelling that familiar faint body fragrance, he felt as if it was real and there was no difference at all. Brother Hao, Sister Shui, let's go in. When the surrounding crowd stopped to watch, Chen Hao and Chen Shui were still hugging each other as if there was no one around. They hugged each other tightly, and neither of them spoke. They only felt each other's heartbeat, breath, and familiar smell. They seemed to have completely forgotten where they were until the sisters couldn't help but remind them. After entering the courtyard, the lovely sisters used the excuse of cultivation to leave Chen Hao and Chen Shui alone. Chen Hao and Chen Shui also entered a room together. You first. After closing the door of the room, they spoke at the same time. Little Shui, we still have such chemistry. I haven't seen you in more than 10 years. You've become even more beautiful. Chen Hao held Chen Shui's slender waist with one hand, while his other hand was on Chen Shui's sparkling and translucent face that was flushed red. You only know how to make people worry. Cough cough. I also don't want to be like this, but I have no choice every time, Chen Hao said. Their faces were originally half a foot apart, but as this fellow spoke, he continued to get closer. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Chen Shui didn't dodge. Instead, she shyly closed her eyes. When Chen Hao finished speaking, he also naturally kissed those tender lips. From gentle to wild, the two of them hugged each other tightly, greedily tasting the joy, excitement, and heartbeat of meeting again after 11 years. Even though there were many things to say, many questions to ask, but at this moment, everything had to be put aside. Second update. Cough cough, 3,000 words. I can't write anymore. Chapter 503. Fiery, passionate, a long kiss that could not wait to fuse into the other party's body. That wonderful feeling, it could not be described with words. This was not just a physical need, but a desire from the depths of the soul. How are we going to do it here? Unknowingly, when the two of them had taken off most of their clothes, Chen Hao could not help but release the last of the restraints on Chen Shui's body. Chen Shui, who still had a trace of rationality, almost murmured. After 11 years of waiting, especially after stepping out of the Wuji star, Chen Shui had already let go of all the reservations in her heart. Love was love, love that was open, love without any conditions. Since they both needed each other, why should she suppress her own desires? This time, Chen Hao had survived the crisis and woke up. What if there were any accidents in the future? She did not want to leave any regrets, especially in this world that was 100 times, 1,000 times more dangerous than the Wuji star, filled with cruel competition, where she could die at any time. She had thought it through. She would completely give herself to Chen Hao, to be a true Dao companion, the sooner the better. That way, even if she died, there would not be many regrets. Moreover, maintaining the body of primordial Yin was really attracting bees and butterflies. She had had enough. It was just that, this was her first time, and this was the second world. Although what he felt in the second world was no different from what he felt in the real world, it was still the second world after all. It was merely a strand of consciousness that had reconstructed himself, and it was utterly unable to affect the physical body in the real world. Of course, Chen Shui's tone wasn't firm. If Chen Hao insisted, she would comply. She would only feel a little regret. Phew. I'm sorry, Xiao Shui, I was too excited. Hearing Chen Shui's words, Chen Hao suddenly stopped what he was doing. He forcefully suppressed the boiling desire and said, "Thank goodness you reminded me. This is your first time, how can it be here? Let's just hug and talk like this?" Phew, Wuji Star, Elite Academy X. In the palace of Heavenly Lord Yunru, Chen Hao let out a long sigh and took off the spiritual helmet. Done? Heavenly Venerate Yunru, who was sitting beside Chen Hao, opened his eyes. However, he didn't take off his helmet, as he didn't want to waste the reward he had obtained with great difficulty. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to instruct Chen Hao on some matters, he would definitely have integrated all of his attention into the second world. It's done, Chen Hao replied. It's a rare opportunity for Master to reward me, so I won't come out. How about it? What did Master say to you? He didn't say much. He just gave me a wealth card and told me what I should do in the future. However, Senior Zhang, Master is very secretive. I didn't get to see what he looks like. It can't be. Didn't Master show up? Yes. However, he was surrounded by the laws, and with my cultivation, I couldn't see his true appearance. At first, he even sent a little girl to test me. A little girl to test you? Heavenly Venerate Yunru seemed a little surprised, but just as he was about to say something, he suddenly shut his mouth, as if deep in thought. Then, he looked at Chen Hao and said, Master must have some plans. Alright, I'll see you out. If there's anything else you need to do it quickly and ascend to human immortal as soon as possible. It'll take about 2 months. I'll look for you then. Alright. Heavenly Venerate Yunru sent out a wave of energy, and Chen Hao disappeared from the palace. Chen Hao didn't know that Heavenly Venerate Yunru was deep in thought after seeing him out. But apart from the higher-ups of Wuji, there shouldn't be anyone else in Master's palace. The little girl that Junior Zhang mentioned? I don't get it, but Master must have his reasons for doing this. Stepping out of Heavenly Venerate Yunru's palace, Chen Hao met up with the sisters and informed Qin Nan, Qin Yen, and his siblings who were worried about him. No matter how reluctant Chen Hao was, he had to leave. On the path of cultivation, Chen Hao could only help to the best of his ability. What they truly had to rely on was still themselves. Moreover, Chen Hao had unknowingly shouldered a heavy mission. It was a mission that he had no choice but to accept. After reuniting for a few days, Chen Hao dismissed everyone who was reluctant to part. He brought his younger brother Chen Nan, younger sister Qin Yen, and the Leng sisters to Heavenly Mist City to visit his former sworn brother and now grandfather. Then, the 5 of them rushed to the cultivation world of the eastern continent before finally returning to the secular world. The sisters had never seen Chen Hao's parents before. Naturally, they were nervous, and a little expectant. As for Chen Hao, Chen Nan, and Qin Yen, they were inexplicably excited to return home to visit their parents after so many years. They couldn't wait to appear in front of their parents. Unfortunately, what Chen Hao and the others didn't expect was that they wouldn't be able to see their parents after so many years. Only Elder Xiao passed on the letter that their father had left for Chen Hao and his siblings. The only thing they could be sure of was that their father had left the Wuji star with their mother. As for where they were going, they didn't tell them. There were many questions and unknowns. This made their father even more mysterious in Qianhao's heart. When Qianhao left the central continent, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru finally used up half a year's time in the second world that Patriarch Wuji had rewarded him. He gathered the top forces of the central continent and directly announced that Qianhao had become Patriarch Wuji's last disciple. He also discussed with the top forces and confirmed the rewards for Qianhao. All the clans and sects that had contributed to Qianhao's growth were listed as rewards. The Shao family, Star-Picking Sect, Winter Plum Hall, Yunwei Hall, and so on were all included. This included the proud Heaven Guardians that Qianhao had formed and all the people who had a good relationship with Qianhao. They all received corresponding benefits. Qianhao's name became the hottest topic in the entire Wuji star in just a few days. He also became the idol of countless young disciples who were envious and jealous of him. There was only one goal, and that was to solve all of Qianhao's worries. Winter Plum Hall was on a towering mountain that reached into the clouds. The peak was shrouded in multicolored light. Purple qi soared into the sky. The spirit qi of heaven and earth within a radius of thousands of miles seemed to revolve around this mountain. On the peak, besides a huge, sparkling rock that was as smooth as jade, there were ravines all around. They looked like blackened reefs. If a normal cultivator below the blessed realm came here, they probably wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure here. It was the pressure of heaven's punishment. This mountain was the special mountain that all the blessed realm disciples of Winter Plum Hall used to trigger heaven's punishment. At this moment, Qianhao was sitting cross-legged on the huge rock. He had been sitting here for a whole month. His essence, qi, and spirit had already been condensed to the fullest. Moreover, he had advanced to the half-step human immortal realm. Every breath he took resonated with heaven and earth. If he wanted to, he could trigger heaven's punishment at any time. Heaven's punishment from the blessed realm to the human immortal realm. However, Qianhao hadn't triggered it yet. It was as if he had scruples, or as if he was waiting for something. I'm about to step out of the Wuji star. There are many things that I need to think about. That's it for today. Chapter 504. What's going on? He said he was going to trigger heaven's punishment a month ago, but it hasn't started yet. Could it be that he's not confident? Wait patiently. It wasn't easy for Master to fight for this opportunity to watch the ceremony. Look around. Who isn't an outstanding figure of Elite Academy X? The Qianhao is really strong. He's only a half-step human immortal, but I feel that he's even stronger than Master. Moreover, according to Master, his state of mind and soul are close to breaking through to the Earth immortal realm. Once he becomes a human immortal, he'll definitely be comparable to a Master at the peak of the Earth immortal realm, or even a half-step heaven immortal. But I don't know why he hasn't triggered heaven's punishment yet. Yeah, I'm curious too. Cold Plum Hall, around heaven's punishment peak, on the mountain peaks and in the void, many young cultivators had been waiting for a month. These young cultivators were basically the elites of the younger generation on Wuji Star. More than half of them were super geniuses from Elite Academy, while the other half were demon-like geniuses from various top forces. They were here to watch Qianhao trigger heaven's punishment. This was specially arranged by Heavenly Lord Yuanru. Firstly, it was to let the genius disciples of Wuji Star, especially those who were about to trigger heaven's punishment, feel Qianhao's aura of heaven's punishment and gain something from it. Secondly, it was to stop those who didn't want to hide the fact that Patriarch Wuji had taken Qianhao as his last disciple and treated him well. It was also to expand Qianhao's influence on Wuji Star. But now, no matter who it was, they were getting impatient. It had been a month since Qianhao had prepared to trigger heaven's punishment, but it hadn't started yet. Who wouldn't be anxious? Not to mention the elite disciples. Even Heavenly Lord Yuanru, Venerable Immortal Han Mei, and the others were worried. They didn't understand what was going on with Qianhao. But no one could interfere in triggering heaven's punishment. The only one who knew what was going on was himself. Master, it's finally done. 3 days later, Qianhao finally heard the voices of Old God and the treasure-hunting sword spirit. In fact, when Chen Hao killed Dongfang Han and obtained the inheritance of immortality and indestructibility, the old god, the treasure hunter's sword spirit, Edo Tai, and the 5 divine beasts had started something that even the infinity ancestor would never have guessed, which was the fusion of worlds. Merge Chen Hao's mental world with the undying and imperishable world. Only the old god knew how to do it, and only the old god could do it. And now, it was finally done. Chen Hao's body trembled slightly. Clearly, the appearance of old god and the treasure-hunting sword spirit had made him slightly excited. So slow. Didn't you say that it would be done in a month? It's already been more than 2 months. Motherfucker, this is killing me. What happened? Look around. I thought that you would be able to complete it more than a month ago, so I promised them the time I would trigger heaven's punishment. In the end, these guys have been waiting for a month. Fortunately, you didn't succeed too late. Chen Hao said. Cough cough this. I didn't expect it either. When I merged with the undying and imperishable world, I actually triggered my own restriction and obtained an unexpected reward. What do you mean? Merging 2 worlds in a row. It can be said that we've reached the true limit of our fusion. The limit of the creation realm. I really didn't expect that the inheritance of the undying and imperishable world would contain countless precious materials for our fusion. Doesn't that mean that your ability? It's just so. My mental strength is just a little higher than yours, and I've only reached the heavenly immortal realm. Of course, this isn't the most important thing. I guarantee that you'll be shocked and excited because I have a function that you really, really need. What function? Roaming the stars. Roaming the stars? That's right. My true body can already appear, and it's at least comparable to a supreme-grade sacred artifact in this universe, and it's the most valuable one. It won't be a problem for me to bring you through the stars. Of course, you can only use it secretly and can't let an expert discover it. Otherwise, with your current ability, you won't be able to protect me at all. Instead, you'll bring a fatal disaster upon yourself. Are you serious? Old God, you're aware of the situation in this world? Chen Hao asked in surprise. It wasn't that Chen Hao hadn't asked before, but the old god had never talked about things that were beyond Chen Hao's own cultivation level. For example, the old god had never revealed the situation after stepping out of the Wuji star. Now, the old god's words clearly showed that he was very clear about the situation in this universe. Of course I'm clear about it. However, don't blame me for not revealing it before. You should know that my various abilities are limited by you. Only as your cultivation level increases and as we merge further, will I be able to obtain the corresponding abilities. Phew, after communicating with the old god in his mind for a while, Chen Hao finally heaved a long sigh of relief. He opened his eyes and looked up at the endless void. He moved. Chen Hao moved. Is it going to start? Phew. Let's start quickly. We've already wasted a month's time. Yes, I hope I can gain something from comprehending his talent. Otherwise, I'll have wasted the opportunity to cultivate in the Holy Land. Boom. Without giving the crowd too much time to discuss, Chen Hao, who had been sitting cross-legged, suddenly stood up. The moment he stood up, his essence, qi, and spirit erupted like a flash flood bursting through a dam. After more than a month of brewing, it finally erupted without restraint. So powerful. In just a moment, the cultivators who were watching from afar, including some human immortals and earth immortals, widened their eyes in horror. In the blink of an eye, Chen Hao's essence, qi, and spirit condensed into a crystal light that shot up to the sky. Moreover, it was the legendary rainbow crystal light. At the same time, with Chen Hao as the core, the energy of heaven and earth began to fluctuate, roll, condense, and spread fast. It was unbelievably fast. 100 miles, 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles passed in an instant. 20,000 miles, 30,000 miles, 100,000 miles. At this point, everyone was dumbfounded. Even heavenly venerable Yuanru, who was in charge of organizing the ceremony, gasped in horror. He was not surprised by the range of the energy fluctuation, but by the fact that the energy fluctuation was still spreading at an alarming speed. What did that mean? Half of the half-step human immortals who triggered the heavenly punishment could only cover an area of tens of thousands of miles. Those who could reach 100,000 miles were definitely monstrous geniuses. Those who could reach 100,000 miles were few and far between in the entire Wuji star. Moreover, those who could reach 100,000 miles would stop at 100,000 miles. But what about Qianhao? Based on the current momentum, no one knew how much he could reach. It said that when eldest senior brother stepped into the human immortal realm, the heavenly punishment he triggered covered 160,000 miles. That's the highest on the entire Wuji star besides Master. Heavenly Venerable Yunru thought to himself as he sensed the energy fluctuation brought about by Qianhao. Looking at this trend, Qianhao is going to surpass eldest senior brother. He's basically settled down. That's right. Otherwise, how can he save the Wuji star? How can he shoulder Master's mission? Perhaps only when he reaches Master's level will there be hope. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru did not know how much Patriarch Wuji had when he stepped into the human immortal realm. It could be said that no one on the Wuji star knew. However, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru could make a judgment based on the monstrous geniuses of the other powerful races in the vast universe galaxy. When a cultivator with the potential to become an elite in the Daluo Golden Wonderland stepped into the human immortal realm, the heavenly punishment would usually cover an area of more than 200,000 miles. Of course, this was not a requirement. Many of the monstrous geniuses of the powerful races in the vast universe galaxy could easily reach 200,000 miles, but there were not many who had reached the Daluo Jinxian realm. Moreover, even if they could not reach 200,000 miles, they would still step into the Daluo Jinxian realm. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Finally, when the spiritual energy ripples triggered by Qianhao reached 180,000 miles, it finally began to slow down. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the vicinity of Qianhao gathered crazily, producing terrifying thunderous explosions. Right above Qianhao's head, the terrifying seven-colored tribulation cloud gradually condensed, and the surroundings were dark clouds rolling, covering the sky and the sun, causing the area of more than 100,000 miles to sink into boundless darkness. Only the area of 1,000 miles around Qianhao was enveloped in dazzling seven-colored light. The cultivators who were originally hundreds and even thousands of miles away from Qianhao quickly retreated without Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's instructions. The rainbow tribulation cloud gathered more and more energy, and its aura became more and more terrifying. Although the energy ripples had slowed down, they still did not stop spreading. 190,000 miles. 200,000 miles. 210,000 miles. Old God, how can it be so strong? No one knew that even the person involved, Qianhao, was shocked at this moment. One had to know that he was the clearest about his own heavenly punishment. At this moment his essence, energy, and spirit had already been raised to the limit. Logically speaking, it should have stopped spreading and allowed the heavenly punishment to descend. Cough cough. This naturally has something to do with me. This fusion of the undying and imperishable world is already very heaven-defying. Moreover, it directly opened two of my shackles. I'm afraid. Afraid of what? The heavenly punishment triggered is not only the laws of heaven and earth of the limitless star. You mean, our aura has already touched the laws of heaven and earth of the vast universe galaxy? It should be. You decide for yourself. If you resist it, it will be dangerous. If not, your body will be destroyed. However, if you can resist it, the improvement you will obtain will also be heaven-defying. Old God said. At this point, Old God worshipped Qianhao's soul and will. At least, none of his previous masters at Qianhao's level could be compared to Qianhao. Therefore, Old God was sure that even if Qianhao's body was destroyed, his soul and will would survive. Of course I'll resist it. Heavenly punishment is an opportunity for me. How can I miss it? I want to see how strong the laws of heaven and earth of the vast universe galaxy are. Boom. Qianhao, who had clearly reached his limit, was not afraid when he heard Old God's words. Instead, he became even more excited and crazily urged his essence, energy, and spirit. Come to vote for me. Chapter 505. Rumble, as the seven-colored tribulation gathered more and more energy, the void within 1,000 miles above Chen Hao's head seemed to have turned into seven-colored crystals. No one knew how much energy the tribulation cloud contained, and no one could imagine how terrifying it would be once the heavenly punishment was unleashed. Apart from heavenly venerate Yunru, all the experts present, including those at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, were shocked. Was this the heavenly punishment that was triggered when one was promoted to a human celestial? Even when they were promoted to the Earth's celestial stage, they were still far from it, let alone when they were promoted to the human celestial stage. Moreover, what made their palms sweat was that if they were in Chen Hao's heavenly punishment, they would have been turned into ashes. How could Chen Hao, who was only a half-step human celestial, resist it? No. Since he can trigger such a powerful heavenly punishment, it means he must have the strength to match it. You should know that the heavenly punishment varies from person to person. Could it be that little junior brother's strength is comparable to a peak expert at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage? Heavenly Venerate Yuanru was also puzzled. Chen Hao's soul realm was only at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage, and there were signs of a breakthrough. However, his soul realm was only at the half-step human celestial stage. Now, the heavenly punishment that Chen Hao triggered was obviously more powerful than the heavenly punishment that was triggered by ordinary half-step heaven celestials. I hope there are no accidents. With little junior brother's soul realm, he should be fine. I'm just afraid his body won't be able to withstand it. Similarly, Celestial Venerate Han Mei and Celestial Venerate Yun Wei, who were not far away from Heavenly Venerate Yuanru, were even more worried about Chen Hao. They were only at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, and their only feeling was that Chen Hao's heavenly punishment was too heaven-defying. It was so heaven-defying that it made their hearts palpitate. However, no one could do anything in the face of the heavenly punishment. The only thing they could do was to wait and pray that Chen Hao could withstand it. On the contrary, the beautiful sisters of the Lung clan, Chen Nen, Chen Yen, Huyan Aobua, and the others who had already retreated 1,000 miles away were all indescribably excited when they saw how terrifying Chen Hao's heavenly punishment was. As the saying goes, the ignorant are fearless, and this was the true portrayal of them. Of course, the most important thing was that they had almost blind confidence in Chen Hao, and Chen Hao had never let them down before. Kacha. Finally, the range of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth finally stopped spreading. When the seven-colored tribulation clouds had clearly condensed to the limit, no one saw a bright light penetrating the endless void and bombarding the thick seven-colored tribulation clouds. In that instant, Chen Hao's heavenly punishment finally erupted. Boom! 1,000 feet thick rainbow-colored beam of light descended from the sky, but the closer it got to Chen Hao, the more condensed it became. Just as it was about to hit Chen Hao, the beam of light became as thick as a person. Roar. At this moment, Chen Hao let out a long roar that reverberated through the heavens and earth. He faced the beam of light head-on without using any of his ultimate techniques to block it. All he did was circulate his spiritual qi and true essence crazily within his body. He was going to resist it head-on. Boom! A terrifying explosion came from the peak. It was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking, causing the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles to tremble violently. The endless pressure of heaven and earth and the extremely terrifying aura of the laws of heaven and earth engulfed the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles at this moment. At this moment, all the genius disciples who came to watch the ceremony closed their eyes in excitement, feeling the opportunity of comprehension brought by Chen Hao's heavenly punishment. In just a few breaths' time, everyone had to suppress the ecstasy in their hearts, fearing that they would miss any moment. The disciples who had originally complained that they had wasted more than a month were now incomparably glad that they had persisted until now. The first heavenly punishment lasted for a full 2 minutes. Then came the second, the third. When it came to the fourth, even the leading masters at the Earth's celestial stage couldn't help but close their eyes, including Senior Celestial Han Mei and Senior Celestial Yun Wei, who were worried about Chen Hao's safety, were no exception. No one had expected that Chen Hao's heavenly punishment would contain such a vast amount of laws of heaven and earth, which even the masters at the Earth's celestial stage couldn't comprehend or touch. The fifth. The sixth. When it came to the seventh, heavenly master Yunru, who had the highest cultivation among all the cultivators, finally suppressed the shock in his heart and closed his eyes. Come on more violently. Now it's far from enough. It's not enough. Chen Hao, who almost didn't look like a human being, was in the terrifying heavenly punishment. His eyes were bright and shining with boundless arrogance and unshakable obsession. Under Chen Hao's crazy urging, his broken body kept recovering. The pain that was beyond the limit, the pressure on his soul, and the pressure on his state of mind almost shattered Chen Hao's body and destroyed his state of mind. But it was only almost. Chen Hao clearly felt that every time the light beam of heavenly punishment descended, he seemed to have been reborn. His body, soul, state of mind, willpower. His comprehension of the laws of heaven was improving at an amazing speed. Every cell and every strand of willpower was undergoing an amazing change. When the eighth heavenly punishment descended, Chen Hao directly turned into a black charcoal. No matter if it was his body, soul, or state of mind, Chen Hao was unable to resist the attack. Especially in his state of mind, all kinds of illusory attacks appeared, which made Chen Hao's state of mind fall into a trance instantly. Bang! Chen Hao's charcoal body, which was filled with lead and mercury, fell heavily on the peak of the mountain. His consciousness seemed to have completely dissipated, and he fell into a coma. Not good. The old god, who had been nervously watching Chen Hao endure the endless pressure of heavenly punishment, saw Chen Hao fall into a coma and was terrified to the extreme. Master! Chen Hao! Wake up! The old god activated all the power of his mind, and a vast voice that seemed to contain endless laws resounded in Chen Hao's mind. At the same time, mysterious runes constantly condensed in Chen Hao's mind. Rumble! A loud, passionate, crazy, and heart-wrenching cry suddenly came from Chen Hao's soul palace. Chen Hao, whose aura had almost disappeared, suddenly erupted with an extremely condensed willpower that soared into the sky. Master, make your move. The ninth wave of heavenly punishment will far exceed your limit. I'm afraid. The old god had no choice but to persuade him. After all, the eighth wave of heavenly punishment had already exceeded Chen Hao's limit. The old god knew that if he did not summon Chen Hao, although he could wake up, it would take some time. At that time, he would be doomed eternally. I said before, I have to resist. Don't worry, I won't die. Just now, my willpower was only temporarily sealed. Even if it was 10 times stronger, it would not be able to truly destroy me. But your body? Even you think that my body is the weakest? Before this, I also thought so. Just watch. The arrogance in Chen Hao's bones was completely aroused. He had never had such confidence before. Rumble. The ninth wave of heavenly punishment descended. Bang. Rumble. The several thousand zhang tall mountain was instantly razed to the ground. Chen Hao's body directly collapsed, turning into countless fragments. However, a crystal-clear willpower protected these fragments in the terrifying explosion. The heavenly punishment disappeared. The fragments gathered. His body reformed. Endless heaven and earth energy began to gather towards the fragments, nourishing the severely injured Chen Hao. Success. He actually succeeded. Unimaginable, really unimaginable. When the heavenly punishment disappeared, everyone looked at the raised mountain. Where was Chen Hao's shadow? It was as if everything had returned to dust. At this time, Heavenly Venerable Yunru was anxious and lamenting. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei were in a daze. Their faces were pale. As for the Lung sisters, Chen Yan, and other people closest to Chen Hao, their minds went blank. They felt that everything had lost its luster, and the world had collapsed. However, this situation only lasted for a moment before they were awakened by the self-gathering of the fragments that did not look human and were not even flesh. No one could imagine that Chen Hao's soul, willpower, and body had actually reached such a monstrous level. Whose body could be gathered when it was almost crushed into powder? And this incredible scene appeared in front of them. When the nourishment after the heavenly punishment began, everyone knew that Chen Hao had succeeded. Otherwise, there would not be such a phenomenon. After any heavenly punishment, as long as the cultivator's body and soul were not destroyed, they would be nourished by the energy of the heavenly punishment and be restored to their peak state. Phew! Immortal and indestructible. I didn't expect little junior brother to be able to comprehend to such a level after just receiving the inheritance. This is simply a miracle, a miracle. As long as the soul is not destroyed, the body will never be destroyed. Even if he is bombarded to pieces, as long as there is a single cell, he can rebuild his body again. This is the highest level of immortality. Little junior brother is only a half-step human immortal. He has just stepped into the human immortal realm. Heavenly Venerable Yunru stared blankly at Chen Hao, who was rapidly forming and rebuilding his body amidst the heaven and earth energy. He was extremely shocked. However, Heavenly Venerable Yunru did not know that his judgment was wrong. Chen Hao, who had just received the immortal and indestructible inheritance, did not comprehend much at all. He was only slightly better than Dong Fong Han back then. The fact that he could achieve this had nothing to do with the immortal and indestructible inheritance. It was because of his special body. This was also the real reason why Chen Hao dared to continue resisting the 9 levels of heavenly punishment. All this time, although Chen Hao knew that his body was special and had an extremely perverse regenerative ability, he did not know exactly how perverse it was. This was something that even he did not know when he cultivated his body back then. But this time, as he endured the terrifying heavenly punishment that he had never experienced before, his soul, will, and body miraculously merged completely with his body. It was as if they had merged into every single cell. Chen Hao could clearly feel that even if he only had a single cell left, he could rebuild a brand new body again. Chapter 506. Phew. Is this the power of the human celestial stage? Chen Hao sensed the surging power in his body, as well as his perception, which had increased by an unknown number of times. He simply could not believe this was real. Powerful. Really powerful. Now, even if it's the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, I'm afraid I can defeat it easily. Chen Hao sensed the aura of the cultivators within thousands of miles, especially the masters of the human celestial stage and the Earth celestial stage, including Senior Celestial Han Mei and Senior Celestial Yun Wei. Before triggering the divine punishment, Chen Hao felt that he was no match for Senior Celestial Han Mei and Senior Celestial Yun Wei, even though his soul realm had reached the peak of the later stage of the Earth celestial stage. Now, Chen Hao clearly felt that the aura of the masters at the peak of the later stage of the Earth celestial stage could no longer affect him. When Chen Hao sensed the cultivators around him, he was also sensed by countless masters around him. This guy didn't expect that his aura after becoming a human celestial would shock everyone. Unfathomable. Even the masters at the Earth celestial stage could only use this word to describe him. Chen Hao, who was only at the initial stage of the human celestial stage, emitted a pressure and the horrible energy in his body, which shocked everyone. How could he still be a human celestial? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was half a heaven celestial. Junior brother, congratulations on becoming a celestial prime. Ha! Heavenly Master Yuanru, who was the closest to Chen Hao, congratulated him from the bottom of his heart after a short moment of surprise. In his expression, except for surprise, there was no aura of looking at a junior anymore. This had never happened before. Because Heavenly Master Yuanru knew that such a talented and powerful junior brother would rise at an amazing speed. It was only a matter of time before he surpassed him. And it wouldn't take too long, junior brother, with your current strength, except for a few masters at the heaven celestial stage on the Wuji star, you've met no match. Ha ha, senior brother, you flatter me. Chen Hao cupped his fists and said, No, I'm definitely not overpraising you. Your heavenly tribulation is not the slightest bit inferior to the heavenly tribulation I faced when I advanced into the heavenly immortal realm. Moreover, the range of the heavenly tribulation you drew upon has even broken my record. If Master learns of this news, he will definitely be very happy. Ha! Emperor Yuanru did not hide his admiration for Chen Hao in the slightest. Moreover, he did not hide it from everyone in the world. His voice clearly transmitted into the ears of every cultivator present. The reason why Heavenly Lord Yuanru allowed these cultivators to attend the ceremony was to slap the faces of those who pretended to obey Patriarch Wuji's arrangements but secretly criticized Patriarch Wuji's favoritism. Not convinced? Let's see if any of you are still unconvinced by Master's reward for junior brother. With Chen Hao's talent, he was definitely the most talented person on the Wuji planet, second only to Patriarch Wuji. Even compared to the geniuses of other powerful planets, he could be ranked among the top. In the face of Heavenly Lord Yuanru's praise, Chen Hao shook his head with a smile and changed the subject. Senior brother, I've gained something from the heavenly tribulation this time. I still need to go into seclusion for a few days to consolidate it before I can set off. Of course. We've already waited for more than a month. A few more days won't matter. Just go into seclusion. When you're ready, we'll set off. Under Heavenly Lord Yuanru's orders, the cultivators who had come to attend the ceremony quickly left and went into seclusion. It had to be said that Chen Hao's heavenly tribulation this time had benefited countless cultivators, including those in the Earth Immortal realm, and even Heavenly Lord Yuanru himself. 7 days later, Chen Hao bid farewell to his younger sister, younger brother, and proud Heaven's brothers and sisters, as well as Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei, who had talked to him for several hours about the Yang planet and the vast universe galaxy, as well as things to take note of. Then he went with the sisters to the core mountain of the Alliance headquarters in Spirit City. That was the place where Heavenly Lord Yuanru had agreed to set off. In fact, the Wuji planet would only make a round trip to the Yang planet every 6 months under the Alliance's arrangement. They would send young geniuses there and pick up cultivators on the Wuji planet. Even if one was at the peak of the Earth Immortal realm, it would be impossible to rush to the Yang planet with his own strength. This time, because of Chen Hao, the original departure time was delayed by nearly 2 months. Apart from Chen Hao and the two sisters, there were 67 young disciples who had just reached the human celestial stage and 14 Earth celestial stage elites who were going to train themselves in the Wuji star. Phew! We're finally going to leave the Wuji planet. Li Qian, how about we write off our grievances? Write off our grievances? If you break your right arm, we'll write off our grievances. Otherwise, puff. Before the young man called Li Qian could finish his sentence, the young man from the demon sect, who wanted to shake hands and make peace, cut off his right arm. Once we leave the Wuji planet, no matter if we're from the demon sect, or the celestial sect, we're all one family. In the past, we were competing with each other. From now on, we'll fight for the honor of the Wuji planet. I hope we're friends, not enemies. The young man from the demon sect said sincerely as he looked at Li Qian, ignoring the fact that his right arm had been cut off. I'm just saying, hurry up and heal yourself. I have some spiritual medicine here. I have some spiritual medicine here. The two young geniuses who had arrived at the Alliance's core mountain in advance laughed before they left. I'll definitely become a top powerhouse. Definitely. My goal is Daluo Jinxian. One day, I'll reach that level. Although my talent, comprehension, and soul are not as good as Chen Hao's, I believe that as long as I work hard enough, one day, I'll catch up with him. You guys are really ambitious. My goal is very simple. I want to see the world and come back alive. The other young geniuses were very enthusiastic and full of hope for the future. When we first stepped out of the Wuji planet, we were just like you guys. We were full of hope for the future. But the reality is, the Wuji planet is really weak. Don't look at me like that. I'm just reminding you out of kindness. What the young man said just now is right. It's good that you can come back alive. Unless you're a real genius, it's better to be realistic. There are hundreds of millions of cultivators on the Wuji planet. Every year, there are hundreds of people who can step into the human celestial stage, right? How long is the lifespan of a human celestial stage cultivator? At least tens of thousands of years, right? But look at how many cultivators above the human celestial stage there are on the Wuji planet. 90% of those who went out died and never had the chance to come back. An older cultivator at the Earth's celestial stage couldn't help but say when he heard the bold words of the young calves. Of course, I'm not asking all of you to lose the will to forge ahead. It's just that everything has to be done with survival as the first factor. Is that Xianxia? When he saw all the young cultivators frowning and pondering deeply, the earthly immortal realm cultivator hurriedly added. At this moment, 3 figures came from the void. Who else could it be other than Xianxia and the beautiful sisters? Xianxia didn't deliberately release his aura. Of course, he didn't deliberately conceal his aura either. On the Wuji planet, there was no secret about his strength anymore. He was only at the human celestial stage, but the aura he naturally emitted was enough to shock the cultivators at the Earth's celestial stage. And this cultivator at the Earth's celestial stage, who didn't have the chance to witness Xianxia's Tian Fa, could tell from the aura that the person who came was the most popular person on the Wuji planet, Xianxia. Nice to meet you, Brother Qin. Brother Qin, I'm Han Yu, a disciple of the Flying Cloud Palace of the Wuji Celestial Palace. I'm good friends with Huyan Albua. Please take care of me in the future. Brother Qin, I'm a disciple of the demonic way. I know the first king, and we have a good relationship. After stepping out of the Wuji planet, we're all family. Please take care of me. As Xianxia slowly descended to the top of the mountain, surrounded by the sisters, the young geniuses bowed toward Xianxia with respectful expressions and words. What made Xianxia laugh was that many people, including Huyan Albua, tried to establish a relationship with him. However, Xianxia didn't put on airs. He cupped his fists in return. Xianxia, at this moment, a silent and arrogant figure walked out of the crowd and stopped in front of Xianxia. Many young cultivators who were intimate with Xianxia stopped and made way for him. Xianxia frowned. The figure was none other than Bailey Ningbing, who had been guarding Xianxia for more than a year. The reason why the crowd was avoiding her was because they all knew that Bailey Ningbing had a pact with Fang Handong, who was killed by Xianxia. Secondly, Bailey Ningbing's talent and strength were second to none before Xianxia and Fang Handong made a name for themselves. Coupled with her identity, not many people dared to offend her. It will take at least half a year to travel from the Wuji planet to the Yang planet. During this time, I'd like to ask you for a favor. Bailey Ningbing didn't expect her appearance to cause an awkward silence. Even if she didn't care about it, she didn't dare to say it out loud when she saw Xianxia's indifferent expression, so she transmitted her voice. I remember telling you that we have nothing to do with each other. Don't think you can get anything from me. Xianxia transmitted his voice back. After completely refining Dongfang Han, although Xianxia did not obtain his complete memories, he more or less knew that the reason why Bailey Ningbing had chosen Dongfang Han back then was definitely because she wanted something. The greatest possibility was the undying sword Dao. He only needed to ask Heavenly Venerable Yuanru about this. It was just that Xianxia didn't have time to ask. I just want to understand the inextinguishable sword principle. As long as you promise me I can marry you? Sorry, I don't care. Don't think that you can just because you're talented. I'll make you regret it one day. It's just the inextinguishable sword principle. I can understand it even without you. Just you wait. Does it have anything to do with me? Don't bother me if you don't have anything to do. No, don't bother me even if you don't have anything to do with me. We have nothing to do with each other. Chapter 507. Bailey Ningbing's face was gloomy as she angrily snorted at Xianxia, then turned around and walked to the side. No one knew what the two of them talked about, but they all thought it had something to do with Xianxia killing Fang Handong. But, with Xianxia's current status and strength, could Bailey Ningbing touch him? Even if the limitless Demon Palace's palace master came, he wouldn't dare to do anything to Xianxia, let alone Bailey Ningbing. However, no one looked down on Bailey Ningbing. On the contrary, they felt that this woman was loyal, brave, and loyal. She and Fang Handong only had a Dao companion agreement, and they weren't real Dao companions. They didn't have any shared experiences or feelings, and everyone knew that. You'll regret it. I'll make you regret it. Xianxia. Bailey Ning Bing bit her lips and said firmly in her heart. She had been favored since she was young, and she had never been humiliated, let alone humiliated so severely. She had talent, and looks. On the entire Wuji star, which female disciple was worse than her? She had always had a proud heart, and she had the right to be proud. As long as she was willing to lower herself to befriend someone, which young disciple wouldn't be overjoyed? But now, she was being ruthlessly trampled by Chen Hao, even if she had already given up her pride and approached him. This was humiliation, naked humiliation. She never thought that she would be humiliated like this. Brother Hao, why did she look for you? Leng Ning Huan asked curiously after Bailey Ning Bing retreated angrily. She wanted to repay me with her body, but I sternly rejected her. This person really overestimated herself. Didn't she see that my Huan and Lei are 10 times prettier and 100 times better than her? I really don't know where her confidence came from. Chen Hao's lips curled into a devilish smile as he spoke to the two girls. All along, the beautiful sisters had always felt that they were inferior to humans in the depths of their hearts. Humans naturally referred to Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, and the others. Firstly, their qualifications were not as old as Chen Shui and the others. Secondly, their talent and realm were not as strong as Chen Shui and the others. Since they were able to become Chen Hao's Dao companions, they had very low expectations of themselves. Regardless of whether Chen Hao was biased or not, they had no complaints. How could Chen Hao not know about such a lovely and considerate pair of sisters? However, Chen Hao really couldn't take care of too many things. Especially when all the women were together, the sisters' performance helped Chen Hao solve a lot of potential problems in the harem. How could that be? The sisters said shyly. Although they said so, they felt sweet in their hearts. Chen Hao rarely praised them. A moment later, a stream of light came from afar. When it reached the peak of the mountain, it slowly descended. Greetings, Heavenly Sovereign Yunru. Senior brother. Junior brother, you're early. Heavenly Venerate Yunru greeted Chen Hao and then said to the others, there's no need for formalities. Since everyone is here, let's set off. Before we set off, Old Man emphasized again that once you step out of the Wuji star, you'll represent the honor of the Wuji star. I don't want to see anyone do anything that will harm the honor of the Wuji star. You're all in the human celestial stage and represent the future of the Wuji star. No matter when, the Wuji star will be your solid support. Of course, the cruelty and danger of the outside world is impossible for us to take care of everyone. You can only rely on yourselves. Only strength is everything. Immortal Dao, and Demon Dao, when you're on the Wuji star, you're competitors. But in fact, it's just a way for us to encourage you. When you're outside, I hope you can help each other and promote each other. This Heavenly Venerate Yunru said majestically. As he spoke, he waved his hand and sent out a stream of energy. In an instant, the empty core of the mountain began to shine with resplendent silver light. At the same time, the entire mountain began to shake violently. A huge object that seemed like a palace but was clearly different from a palace appeared before everyone's eyes with resplendent silver light. This was the first time the young cultivators had seen such a scene, and their eyes were filled with excitement and surprise. Is this a flying magic treasure? Chen Hao said in his heart. He released his divine sense and sensed the silver palace that was 3,000 feet long, 3,000 feet wide, and 2,000 feet tall. Compared to the technological flying machines on Earth, whether it was in terms of structure or principle, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. It could be said that they were two completely different things. This is the best flying magic treasure on the Wuji star, the silver-winged infinity. Don't try to probe it. It's one of our ancestors' magic treasures. It's a top-grade divine artifact. Let alone you, even an expert of the heaven immortal realm can't probe it. Its flying speed can reach the peak of the late stage of the heaven immortal realm. It's 1,000 times faster than tearing the void. Its defensive power can ignore any attack below the peak of the late stage of the earth immortal realm. Well, let's go. Heavenly Venerate Yunru explained to everyone. At the same time, he opened the door of the silver-winged infinity. Hearing Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's words, the young cultivators couldn't wait and rushed excitedly toward the light gate. Junior brother, how is it? Heavenly Venerate Yunru asked when he saw Chen Hao staring at the silver-winged infinity with bright eyes. It's okay. A top-grade divine artifact is really extraordinary, but, why do you have to refine it into this shape? Besides, senior brother, you only talked about its defensive power and flying speed. Doesn't such a powerful flying machine have any offensive function? Cough. Junior brother, a flying machine, especially a top-grade divine artifact like this, will be more than 10 times more expensive if it has an offensive formation. If that's all, it's nothing. The key is that once it has an offensive formation, it will definitely affect its flying speed. Even the best craftsman can't take care of it. Junior brother, do you know anything about crafting? Not really, but I know a little. The material of this silver-winged infinity is really good. If I'm not wrong, there's almost no defensive formation. It's completely supported by the defensive power of the material itself, right? That's right. I didn't expect Junior brother to know about this. You're really amazing. Heavenly Venerate Yuanru praised. He knew that with Chen Hao's cultivation base, it was impossible for him to see through the structure of the silver-winged infinity and the formation it contained. The fact that Chen Hao could come to such a conclusion based on mere speculation proved that he had a deep understanding of crafting materials and formations. In fact, it was not Chen Hao who knew, but Old God who knew. The material of the silver-winged infinity was a rare defensive metal called starlight silver. Its hardness alone could withstand the full-force attack of a peak late-stage Earth immortal expert without causing any damage. After everyone had entered the silver-winged infinity, Heavenly Lord Yu, Chen Hao, and the sisters also went in. Sure enough, it didn't incorporate the law of space. Of course, since the purpose of crafting the silver-winged infinity is to increase its speed, it's naturally impossible to incorporate the law of space. In the chaotic space, any law of space is greatly affected. If you want to maintain its stability, you'll need to spend a lot of runes to suppress it, and the energy consumed is also enormous, Old God said in Chen Hao's mind. But if we combine the technology of Earth with the crafting methods here, the effect will certainly be astonishingly improved. Of course. To tell you the truth, the things on Earth are indeed unique, and practitioners can't use magic to achieve that. If we can combine them, Master, it's hard for you not to be amazing. It's just that with your current strength, you can only craft low-level items. For example, you can't even change the shape of this starlight silver, let alone craft aircraft. Inside the silver-winged infinity, there was no independent space except for the control room. Everything was open, and the walls were densely covered with runes. There was a fixed seat every 200 feet in the cabin. When Chen Hao and the sisters came in, some practitioners had already chosen their favorite seats and sat down cross-legged. Everyone were about to set off. If everything goes well, it will take us half a year to reach the Yang planet. If we encounter too many space storms, we may be delayed for some time. Moreover, this place is completely isolated from the outside world, and you can't sense the slightest law of heaven and earth. But you won't be bored. 10 days later, we'll enter the full coverage of the second world, and you can enter the second world. Junior brother, you can choose a place to sit. After we set off and enter the safe zone, the windows will open and be replaced by transparent crystals. The scenery in the chaotic space is not bad. Celestial Master Yuanru said to Chen Hao alone after giving instructions to the others. Yes, senior brother, can I go with you to the control room to have a look? Of course. Why, do you want to study it? I'm just looking around. Alright. But the control room is small, and it's fine if we stay here. Brother Hao, you can go take a look with Senior Celestial Master Yuanru. The considerate sisters said with a smile. Well, you can find a place to sit. I'll come after taking a look. Hiss, hiss, hiss. After leading Chen Hao into the control room, Celestial Master Yuanru activated the silver-winged infinity with his mind and energy. In an instant, the runes on the walls of the cabin emitted dazzling light. Rumble. With a loud noise, the enormous silver-winged infinity tore through the void and disappeared from the mountain peak. Inside, no one felt any fluctuations. "We've entered the chaotic space," Celestial Master Yuanru said. "Amazing. I didn't feel anything at all," Chen Hao exclaimed. He was indeed very surprised. The power of the law of heaven and earth was something that technology couldn't achieve. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian.com. Chapter 508. Once the light shield emitted by the runes is activated, it's equivalent to holding up an independent small world. It's completely isolated from the outside world. Naturally, we won't be affected at all. However, the silver-winged infinity can only be driven by the sole power of a heaven celestial expert. Therefore, on the Infinity Star, the 3 palace masters, me and a few other heaven celestial experts take turns going to the Ying planet. This time, because of you, junior brother, I swapped places with them. Whatever you want to know, just ask. I'm just looking around. I have nothing to ask, Chen Hao said as he looked casually at the complicated runes in the control room. In fact, Chen Hao really had nothing to ask. He had only come here because the old god wanted to take a look. But now, the old god's structure, runes, and functions of the silver-winged infinity were simply snorting disdainfully. After chatting with Heavenly Lord Yuanru for a while, Chen Hao returned to the sisters. Originally, he had the beautiful idea of having an independent cultivation room. Now, looking at the pairs of eyes that looked at him from time to time, Chen Hao could only stare at the 2 blooming flowers helplessly. After the novelty wore off, the crowd had nothing to do. Some were bragging, some were trying to curry favor, and some were immersed in comprehending unique skills. It was basically impossible to cultivate without being able to sense the laws of heaven and earth and the energy of heaven and earth. At best, they could use spiritual herbs and spiritual crystals to refine their true core strength. 10 days finally passed in the midst of everyone's torturous anticipation. When Heavenly Lord Yuanru announced that they could enter the second world, all the cultivators in the cabin screamed excitedly, "Let's go in. Let's meet directly at the residence," Chen Hao said to the sisters as he quickly took out the spiritual helmet. But the sisters replied and put on their spirit helmets. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, all the cultivators in the silver-winged infinity activated their essence, qi, and spirit and entered the second world. At this moment, everyone present once again felt Chen Hao's shocking aura. Especially those Earth celestial stage experts who didn't participate in Chen Hao's heavenly punishment ceremony. At this moment, they truly felt it and understood that the rumors weren't exaggerated in the slightest. In the second world, in Yang City, there were flashes of light. Chen Hao randomly appeared in Yang City. The moment he appeared, a series of notifications rang out in his mind. Chen Shui's, Helian Wuzi's, and Xia Yu's. Only Tantai Lian's was missing. Phew. It seems that Xiaolian hasn't come back yet. Could it be that she's really in danger? Chen Hao frowned as he read the information of the 3 people. The last time he entered the second world, Chen Shui told him about the situation of the girls. A few months had passed, and there was still no news. He was afraid. "I hope nothing bad will happen." Chen Hao shook his head helplessly. Among the girls, Tantai Lian was indeed very ordinary in Chen Hao's mind. However, Tantai Lian was, after all, the only woman he really got in this life, even though he had no choice. Moreover, Tantai Lian was going crazy and risking her life. If it wasn't for him, who else would it be for? However, it was useless for Chen Hao to worry about it now. It was too far away. It would take him half a year to reach the Yang planet, and that was if everything went smoothly. Just as Chen Hao released his powerful perception to see if he could coincidentally appear in the same area as the sisters, another notification rang out in his mind. "Senior brother? You're also here?" Of course, it doesn't take much effort to control the silver wings. "Junior brother, I've already reported your situation to Master. Master doesn't want you to waste the next 6 months. Master has plans?" "No, he doesn't. However, I can give you a few suggestions." The wealth card that Master gave you has 10,000 immortal core crystals stored in it. You can go to the arena. It should be enough for you to use for a while. Well, I'm thinking of going to the arena to have a look. The arena was a place for practitioners to learn from each other. At the same time, it was also a place where countless top forces paid attention to. Any disciple who performed well in the arena was likely to win the favor of the big shots. However, Chen Hao didn't care much about this. What Chen Hao really valued was the arena, where he could meet all kinds of opponents. There was no doubt that it was the best place to train. That's good. Besides, junior brother, although you won't really die in the second world, you can't ignore life and death. Once you develop this habit, the second world's training will be greatly reduced for you. Yes, I understand. Also, although Master didn't say it, if you go to the arena, you'd better do your best to make a name for yourself. The faster the better, and the more famous the better. There's no need to keep a low profile in the second world. Otherwise, even with your talent, it'll be very difficult for you to enter the eyes of the big shots. I'll try my best. Senior brother, can you help me with something? Chen Hao suddenly thought of a problem. What is it? As long as I can do it, I promise I'll do it for you. Xiaolian, Tantailian, has taken on an extremely dangerous mission. There's been no news of her for nearly a year. She hasn't even landed in the second world. I'm worried that something might happen to her. Ahem. Junior brother, no one can help you with this. No matter if it's a mission issued by the master of the Ying planet or a mission issued by the vast universe galaxy, no one can help a practitioner once they accept it. Unless a practitioner of the same level also takes on the mission, there's no hope of helping. Is that so? Forget it. Junior brother, you don't have to worry too much. Many mission areas can't connect to the second world. There are also many missions that can't be completed in 8 to 10 years, let alone 1 year. Alright, that's it then. Thank you, senior brother. After cutting off the connection with Heavenly Lord Yuanru, Chen Hao's figure flashed and he headed toward his residence as fast as lightning. At the same time, he sent out several messages to reply to the girls. Although Chen Hao wanted to meet the girls alone, he decided against it. Just like with Chen Shui, why bother? It would only add to the suffering. If he couldn't do it in reality, it was better to know his place in the second world. He didn't want to destroy himself and harm them. Even if they were willing, Chen Hao couldn't bear to take their precious first time in this virtual world. He's finally here. Hao Hao is here, in the cultivation room within the courtyard. Helian Wuzi, who was as cold as the moon, and Xia Yuyu, who was pure and refined, stood up one by one when they heard the notification sound and found out that it was Chen Hao. Chapter 509. 2 months ago, after Helian Wuzi and Xia Yu returned from a mission, they learned from Qin Shui that Chen Hao had already awakened. From then on, their divine senses had never left the second world, and they had been waiting for Chen Hao to appear. And now, Chen Hao had finally appeared. That's not right. Huan Huan and Lei Lei don't have wealth cards. If they fly, wouldn't they need a few hours to reach their residence? After Chen Hao rushed to the nearest teleportation point, he suddenly thought of this problem and hurriedly contacted the sisters again. After confirming their location, Chen Hao chose the teleportation destination. Brother Hao, 1 immortal origin crystal per person for 1 teleportation is really too expensive. Let's fly over. After seeing Chen Hao at the teleportation point, the sisters persuaded him again. They knew how thrifty Chen Shui and the rest were. How could they bear to spend immortal origin crystals to teleport? What are you afraid of? Anyway, these immortal origin crystals were given to me by the ancestor. Besides, with me here, are you afraid of not having enough money to spend? Let's go. Chen Hao said in a rich and imposing manner. Although the original immortal origin crystal stones and spirit herbs could not be used as a common currency, they could still be exchanged for immortal origin crystals according to the ratio. With Chen Hao's wealth, although it could not be compared to a tycoon, it could still be slightly rich. In particular, the top-grade ores that he and Chen Shui obtained from the 9 Nether Frost pool could definitely be exchanged for a considerable amount of wealth. From afar, Chen Hao saw the two beautiful figures standing at the door of the courtyard, whom he had not seen for more than 10 years. When Helian Wuxia and Xianxia saw Chen Hao and the other two, they immediately flew over to greet them. Chen Hao looked at the excitement and joy on their beautiful little faces, and a boundless tenderness suddenly welled up in the depths of his heart. There was even a trace of understanding that stirred up layers of ripples in the depths of Chen Hao's heart. The great Tao was heartless. Was it really heartless? Chen Hao never believed that the great Tao was heartless, because he believed in his own feelings. However, regardless of whether it was cultivators or mortals, they seemed to have determined from the beginning that the great Tao was heartless. Chen Hao had never understood what was going on, but now he finally understood. Cultivation has no concept of time. Closing one's eyes is equivalent to 1,000 years. Even if there were feelings, who would believe it? And he and his Tao companions were happy. Whether it was their own efforts or Chen Hao's full help, at least the gap between them had not become unreachable. It had only been over 10 years, and it was impossible for their feelings to fade. Instead, it was as if they had grown old and cherished each other even more. Chen Hao, Hao. The beautiful sisters voluntarily gave up Chen Hao's right to possess them, while Chen Hao opened his arms and hugged the two girls tightly. At this moment, Chen Hao's soul was unexpectedly clear, untainted by dust. Clearly, there was a warm and fragrant jade in his embrace, but there was not the slightest bit of lust. There was only a faint warmth that rippled in his heart. This was a wonderful feeling that Chen Hao had never experienced before. What was even more miraculous was that at this moment, Chen Hao clearly felt that his state of mind had actually merged with Helian Wuxia and Xianxia. The two girls who originally had too much to say, but didn't know where to start, suddenly felt their hearts become tranquil and filled with warmth. Only when the surrounding passers-by were envious and jealous of them did the two girls embarrassedly leave Chen Hao's embrace, interrupting Chen Hao's wonderful state of mind that had suddenly arrived. It was a bit regretful, but it couldn't be forced. The five of them quickly returned to the courtyard. The beautiful sisters still used the excuse of cultivating, while Chen Hao chatted with the two girls for a few hours, just like before with Chen Shui. Of course, the main person talking was Chen Hao. Chen Hao had already known the general situation of the two from Chen Shui. So many people? Chen Hao couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as he looked at the long line of people in front of him. The only thing missing was that there was no one pressing on the other. This was the entrance to the arena. Chen Hao was accompanied by Helian Wuxia and Xianxia. The beautiful sisters didn't even have the qualifications to enter the arena because they didn't have the wealth card for the time being. They could only stay in their residence and cultivate. There are indeed a lot of people today. Could it be that there's a famous person who wants to fight? A famous person who wants to fight? Chen Hao was a bit puzzled. Yes, it's a person who has a very high battle record and is very famous. These kinds of people cherish their reputation. Unless their qualifications are comparable, or there's a wager that's enough to move them, they basically won't fight. In the arena, every time there's such a battle, it's the time when there's the most cultivators. You have to know that in the arena, even if you don't challenge and only watch the battle, you can still benefit a lot. You can see many peculiar battle skills and unique secret skills. Moreover, in the arena, if you spend a certain amount of celestial core crystals, you can enter the arena of both parties and completely experience the aura, power, and artistic conception of their unique skills. I know that. It's indeed a very powerful function. Chen Hao learned this from the information he obtained when he entered the second world. This was impossible in the real world, but it could be done in the second world. According to the level of the battle, as long as you pay a certain amount of celestial core crystals, you can enter the arena. However, except for feeling, you're completely invisible and can't interfere with the battle at all. Zui Hongqian from the Tianyuan planet and Zhuge Ming from the Zhendan planet are both first-class geniuses. In the same realm, Zui Hongqian is a top figure ranked 13th in Yang City, while Zhuge Ming is ranked 26th. However, since he directly challenged Zui Hongqian, he must have made some progress. Yes. Zhuge Ming hasn't appeared for 3 years. It said that he went on a dangerous mission and spent more than 2 years. Sure enough, in the long line of people at the entrance, many people were discussing today's main character. Just as Xia Yuyu said, there was a famous person challenging them. How, it's your first time here. If there's no bet, I'm afraid no one will fight with you. The bet here is at least 10 celestial core crystals. If you bet 10 crystals, someone will definitely accept the challenge. 10 crystals and someone will accept the challenge? I understand. There must be a lot of people who rely on winning against newcomers to earn celestial core crystals, right? How, even we often do this. Otherwise, we won't have enough celestial core crystals. However, even so, we'll still lose. Xia Yu said, "What's your record?" Chen Hao looked at Xia Yuyu and Helian Wuzi and asked. "Mine is very bad. 306 battles, 30 wins, 306 losses." Xia Yu said, "Xiao Wu, what about you?" "I'm not good either. 436 battles, 108 wins, 64 draws, 264 losses." Helian Wuzi said, "Disciples of the limitless star, in terms of talent and combat power, there's a huge gap between us and the other powerful planets. This is also the reason why the 4 of us were only chosen by second-rate forces. Helian Wuzi, Chen Shui, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian, the 4 of them were respectively chosen by the 4 second-rate forces. In these few years, the 4 of them basically met in the second world. In reality, they only met 2 or 3 times. Xiao Wu and Sister Shui's record is considered the top in our Wuji planet," Xia Yu said very frankly. Now, Helian Wuzi relied on the power of reincarnation and Chen Shui relied on the valiant soul to surpass her, who was originally the strongest. "Indeed, we're a little too weak." Chen Hao also had to admit the reality. No matter what, although the 2 of them were not the top among the genius disciples of Wuji planet, they were still very outstanding. However, their chances of winning here were actually so low. One had to know that the arena was divided into several levels. The arena for each level was divided into 3 areas. For example, the arena for the human celestial realm was divided into the early, middle, and late stages of the human celestial realm. You could go to the high-level area to challenge, but you couldn't go to the low-level area. Yes, some guys in the creation realm and half-step human celestial realm are stronger than us. How, although your talent and combat power are high, don't let your guard down. After walking out of the Wuji planet, we realized that there's always someone better than us. It's really too difficult for us to stand out, Junior Sister Helian. Just as Chen Hao's group of 3 followed the line and continuously approached the entrance, at the end of the line on the left, a young girl with a tall figure and a rough appearance suddenly shouted towards Helian Wuzi. That's right, it was a girl. However, she looked even more manly than a man. Even Bai Xiaomei was not in the same weight class when compared to her. "Senior Sister Fei, you're here too?" When Helian Wuzi heard the other party shout, her face showed a trace of respect and intimacy as she greeted her. This rough girl was called Fei Lina. She was a disciple of the Saint Dipper sect like Helian Wuzi. She took good care of Helian Wuzi and also helped Helian Wuzi with some things several times. The 2 of them entered the Saint Dipper sect together. However, although they were both in the middle stage of the human celestial realm, Fei Lina's strength was several times stronger than Helian Wuzi's. When Helian Wuzi greeted Fei Lina, Xia Yu also looked at Fei Lina with a smile. At the same time, she introduced Fei Lina to Chen Hao through voice transmission. Because of Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu already knew Fei Lina in the second world. "Yes. I just came back from a mission, so I came to play." "Junior Sister Helian, this is?" "He's Chen Hao, huh? I guessed it. Not bad." "Chen Hao, nice to meet you." Fei Lina walked over enthusiastically and said to Chen Hao, "Simse, thank you for taking care of Xiao Wu." Chen Hao also said with a smile, "No wonder Junior Sister is so devoted to you. Chen Hao, let's go in later and have a fight?" "I think it's better to do it another day." Cough cough, another day, another day. If we want to fight, there's no need to waste celestial core crystals here. Yes, that's true. Well, let's find a place to fight another day. Your appearance is really handsome and your aura is also quite strong. I just don't know if your real combat strength is worthy of junior sister Helion. Ha. I'm just joking, don't mind. Don't say it. Chen Hao, let me tell you, in our Saint Dipper sect, many genius disciples are in love with junior sister Helion. Senior sister Fei, what are you talking about? Helion Wuzi revealed the shyness of a little girl and said angrily. She didn't say this to Chen Hao. Firstly, she was afraid that Chen Hao would be worried. Secondly, she had never cared about anyone other than Chen Hao. Although the disciples who pursued her were stronger than Chen Hao in terms of talent, combat strength, and background, she wasn't moved at all. Love was love. Once true love reached a certain level, everything else would no longer be important. What's more, Helion Wuzi firmly believed that the future Chen Hao would absolutely not be comparable to others. Chapter 5:10. Ha! Thank you for the reminder. Little Wu, I can guess whether your senior sister said it or not. Isn't Yu the same? Chen Hao said with a smile. You don't seem to be worried at all? Fei Lina looked at Chen Hao with a bit of astonishment. One had to know that no matter if it was Helion Wuzi or Xia Yu, they were both first-rate great beauties. Even if their innate aptitude was a bit lacking, it was also because of their inherited bloodline. This was losing at the starting line. As long as their comprehension was good, no one could say for sure how far they could walk in the future. Therefore, she had never underestimated Helion Wuzi, especially since Helion Wuzi was a genius who had awakened the power of reincarnation. Within their Saint Do sect, there were quite a few young disciples who were much stronger than Chen Hao who were interested in Helion Wuzi. What's there to worry about? I believe in them. Of course, I also believe in myself. The corners of Chen Hao's mouth slightly curled up, revealing a smile filled with confidence. Move aside, move aside. Move aside. All of you move aside for me. Just at this moment, a rude and domineering voice came from behind, immediately attracting the attention of countless people in the surroundings. When Fei Lina saw the person who had come, she immediately frowned. Especially when she saw the other party rudely walking towards them, a trace of indignation flashed in the depths of her eyes. However, she who seemed to be rude forcefully suppressed this anger. At the same time, she even opened up her enormous arms, like a small mountain, and leaned back, blocking Chen Hao, Helion Wuzi, and Xia Yu behind her. Obviously, she took the initiative to make way for the other party. We can't afford to offend these people. Fei Lina transmitted her voice to Chen Hao and the other two. Cough cough. Chen Hao slightly frowned and coughed. Even though Fei Lina's mountain-like body completely blocked the three of them and they couldn't see who had come, Chen Hao's sharp perception had already clearly seen the other party's aura, figure, and appearance in his mind. Who else could it be but that perverted Shimin Feng's group? However, seeing such a bold and rude Fei Lina actually yield, it made Chen Hao very puzzled. After all, with Fei Lina's strength, especially in the second world, it was simply not something that those guys could resist. Therefore, for the time being, Chen Hao didn't say anything. Isn't this Fei Lina? What a coincidence, this young master just so happens to have something to ask you to do. Say it. Fei Lina forcefully suppressed the anger in her heart. You what? Is that how you address me? Young Master Shimin, please speak. Fei Lina bit her lips in humiliation and said, That's right, I heard, you're Saint Do sect's Helion Wuzi. Shimin Feng put his hands behind his back and didn't even look at Fei Lina's face that didn't interest him in the slightest. He turned his head to the side and spoke condescendingly. His tone was as if he was speaking to his own servant. Fei Lina was stunned and only muttered to herself for a moment before hurriedly transmitting her voice to Helion Wuzi and the other two. Junior sister Helion, Chen Hao, they definitely haven't discovered you. Leave first, quiet. This person is one of the 5 great clans of the Asian Ing planet, a direct descendant of the Shimin clan and one of the heirs, Shimin Feng. Anyone that he takes a fancy to will be unscrupulous. His clan's safe? Quickly leave, don't let him see. Helion Wuzi was extremely shocked. Although she had a good relationship with Fei Lina, she didn't know Fei Lina's true identity. In any case, she never thought that Fei Lina was actually a slave of the Shimin clan. After Fei Lina finished speaking, she hurriedly said, "Young Master Shimin, we're very close. What do you want?" Fei Lina had just opened her mouth when Hellion Wuzi suddenly stepped forward. Her cold gaze was like two sharp swords that shot straight at Shimin Feng. Hellion Wuzi wasn't the slightest bit afraid of Shimin Feng. As long as they were on the Asian Ing planet, they wouldn't have a chance. In the second world, she was even less afraid. Not only her, but even Xia Yuyu and Chen Shui had also been harassed by this guy. Moreover, they had already fought in the second world before. Otherwise, when they met Chen Shui last time, this group of guys wouldn't have been chased away by Chen Shui. At this time, the reason why Hellion Wuzi had stepped forward was because she didn't want Fei Lina to be hurt. She knew what a slave was. Junior sister Helen? Fei Lina looked at Hellion Wuzi in surprise. She had made the decision to let Hellion Wuzi and the others leave, so naturally she was denying her relationship with Hellion Wuzi. In fact, she had already made preparations to sacrifice herself. She was just a slave. She had relied on her own talent and unremitting efforts to get to where she was today. But she knew that no matter how high her cultivation was, she was still a member of the Shimin family. A slave could never betray. Betrayal meant death. Her naturally straightforward personality made it impossible for her to do anything that would let Hellion Wuzi down. But now, Fei Lina was both grateful and worried for Hellion Wuzi. She was very clear about Shimin Feng's methods. "Ah? Hellion Wuzi? I didn't expect you two to be together, huh? Don't misunderstand. Well, I just wanted Fei Lina to bring you a message. I've offended you in the past, and I hope we can turn enemies into friends." Cough, cough. Don't misunderstand, the friends I'm talking about are real friends, definitely not mixed with any impurities. It was definitely a 180-degree turn. No one would have thought that Shimin Feng would actually say such a thing. His words, his expression, and his attitude were definitely very, very sincere. It was definitely the opposite of the arrogant playboy just now. Moreover, it gave people the feeling that he was trying to curry favor with Hellion Wuzi. Is that so? Hellion Wuzi frowned slightly. Her cold face clearly had a trace of doubt, but more than that, she felt that the other party was plotting something. Why should I believe you? Even if what you said is true, I don't want to have a friend like you. Senior sister Fei, I've misjudged you. You approached me and tried to rope me in just to please him, right? From now on, I don't have a friend like you. Fei Lina was shocked. Senior sister, you're a slave of their clan. I'm doing this for your own good. Don't speak. Hellion Wuzi transmitted her voice. Hellion Wuzi. I, Shimin Feng, swear to the heavens, I'm serious. Shimin Feng's face turned green, obviously on the verge of exploding. Including his subordinates, he was already rubbing his fists and rubbing his palms. As long as the order was given, they would definitely fight. But what these followers didn't expect was that Shimin Feng actually suppressed the anger in his heart and stared at Hellion Wuzi again. Whether it's true or not, it's none of my business. Also, don't have any ideas about Yuyu, Sister Shui, and Huan Lele in the future. Is there a need to say this? In the past, I didn't know Chen Hao, Brother Chen. Now, I already know that you're Brother Chen's Dao companions. How could I have any ideas about you? What did you say? Hellion Wuzi was stunned. Chapter 511. Xia Yuyu, who was blocked by Fei Lina's mountain-like body, was also stunned. Fei Lina was also stunned. Scram. And at this time, without any warning, an angry shout rang out. Chen Hao, who wanted to see what medicine was buried in Shimin Feng's gourd, finally couldn't hold it in. It had to be said that Chen Hao was disgusted. He wanted to vomit. He really wanted to vomit. Fuck. If Chen Hao was really Shimin Feng's friend and didn't know the fanaticism and infatuation that blossomed in Shimin Feng's eyes when he saw him, then it would be fine. But Chen Hao already knew last time that this guy's sexual orientation was absolutely abnormal to an unimaginable degree. How could he endure it? Hellion Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Fei Lina looked at Chen Hao, who suddenly stood out and flipped out. They didn't know what was going on, and their brains couldn't wrap their heads around it. And Shimin Feng, who was clearly being pointed at and scolded by Chen Hao, stared straight at Chen Hao, as if he didn't hear Chen Hao's scolding. His eyes revealed a strong surprise and fanaticism from the bottom of his heart. That feeling, it was as if he suddenly saw his most what's-his-name person. Hurry up and scram with me. Brothers. I finally, scram. Don't be angry, I'll scram. Shimin Feng looked at Chen Hao with a flushed face. Especially when he saw Chen Hao's cold and emotionless face, he was so excited that his voice trembled. Where was the domineering hedonistic disciple? True love. This was the true love that he yearned for even in his dreams, the true love that made his soul tremble and unable to extricate himself. Chen Hao's words were like a curse that made him unconditionally carry out. He couldn't bear, to disobey Chen Hao in the slightest, boss. The faces of Shimin Feng's followers burned. Especially when they saw the gazes of the people around them, they felt even more ashamed. Just a moment ago, they were still arrogant, domineering, and insufferably arrogant, but now their boss was like a docile pug in front of Chen Hao. As his underlings, they naturally felt ashamed. They couldn't help it, they really couldn't help it. They wanted to remind Shimin Feng, who seemed to be possessed. Get lost. Brother Chen told us to scram, didn't you hear him? Get out of here. Shimin Feng said sternly. As he spoke, his eyes were still fixed on Chen Hao. In the end, he abruptly turned his head and left with his group of followers. This scene confused everyone. They did not understand what was going on and were shocked. This was especially true for the surrounding cultivators who knew Chen Hao's identity. They were all guessing who Chen Hao was, or perhaps he was the disciple of some powerful figure. After all, not everyone could understand something that could only be understood but not explained in words. Brother Chen Hao. Fei Lina looked at Chen Hao in confusion. How do you know him? Helian Wuzi also raised her small face and asked. How, what's going on? Cough. That's a bitch. I met her the last time I came to the second world and beat her up. She's probably afraid of me now. Chen Hao was already prepared to make a move. It was just that he didn't expect Shimin Feng to have this kind of attitude. This made Chen Hao even more speechless, even more disgusted, and even more nauseous. He would rather that guy get angry and have a great battle with him than have this kind of ending. This was like a nimble fly, unable to be swatted, but destined to buzz by your ear. It doesn't make sense. Brother Chen, although your combat strength surpasses your realm, but Shimin Feng is a guy who fears nothing. Especially in this second world, he's even more so. How is this possible? Fei Lina said. Who knows what's going on? Alright, it's almost our turn. Chen Hao resisted the goosebumps all over his body and changed the topic. Interesting. The typical playboy from the Shimin family is actually so obedient to him. This doesn't make sense. There's no reason, in the crowd, a girl who had restrained her aura and looked like a girl next door had a trace of surprise and ridicule in her eyes. She stared at Chen Hao's back and thought to herself. After stepping into the human celestial stage, his improvement is indeed beyond my imagination, but it's still not enough. In the initial stage of the human celestial stage, his winning rate is at most 60% in a short period of time. Although physical body, talent, and unique skills are important, combat skills are also important. Maybe after a period of training and experience, his winning rate can reach 90%. There's hope, but I can't put all my hopes on him. Pay attention to his battle situation. If there's any news, send it to me immediately. The girl sent a message. The girl was obviously standing there, but strangely, she didn't attract much attention. Her departure was even more casual and quiet. When it was Chen Hao and the other two's turn, they directly handed their wealth cards to the staff. It was no different from swiping a card on Earth. However, the fees here were directly deducted according to the actual consumption when the cultivators came out. Different levels of the arena had different charging standards. However, watching the competition wasn't limited by the cultivation stage. For example, the human celestial stage was divided into 3 levels: the initial stage, the middle stage, and the late stage. But after entering the arena, watching the competition wasn't limited by the 3 levels, except that cultivators above the Earth's celestial stage couldn't watch the competition. But if they wanted to fight, the high-level cultivators couldn't challenge the low-level cultivators. This was the basic principle. The competition of the 2 aces should be over there. Let's go and have a look. After entering the arena, Chen Hao felt a strong fighting spirit, which far overshadowed the surrounding arenas, coming from the core area. Many cultivators were also flocking in one direction. This caused Chen Hao, who loved to fight to the bone, to have a strong desire to do battle. Chen Hao even had a strong desire to conquer this place. Not only because of the Infinity Ancestor's request, but also because of his inner desire to become a powerhouse. Since stepping foot into the world of cultivation until now, Chen Hao had experienced countless duels all along the way, and the only things that truly allowed Chen Hao to feel satisfied were duels and arenas. No matter how one looked at it, a battle with an expert was the most tempering, the most hot-blooded, and the most satisfying thing for Chen Hao. In the past, his only regret was that he couldn't really let loose now. The second world made up for this regret. In this world, there were no rules. You could really fight without any scruples. Come on, don't look. Aren't they just 2 beauties? It's about to start. This is the peak competition of the human celestial stage. Let's go. Shit. What a strong fighting spirit. No wonder they are the powerhouses ranked 13th and 26th in the human celestial stage. Their fighting spirit alone has covered the entire arena. Let's go, it's about to start. Let's go all out. 100 crystals it is. This time, we have to go in and experience it. In the fast-moving crowd, many people were talking as they walked. 100 crystals? Is it so expensive to experience their competition? Chen Hao asked in surprise. According to the information he had learned, the competition of the 3 stages of the human celestial stage only cost 10 celestial core crystals to enter the arena and experience the real aura of the battle. With their fame, they come to the arena to make money. Otherwise, they would just start the competition directly. They wouldn't wait for so many of us to watch. Chapter 5:12. Earn money? You mean, the arena will give them dividends? Chen Hao asked. Yes. But only those who are very famous have the right to do so. The amount of dividends they get has nothing to do with the number of spectators. Only those who spend money to enter the arena will get dividends. The more people there are, the more they get. Xia Yu said. She and Helian Wuzi had been to the arena many times in the past few years. They were familiar with the situation here. That's not bad. Chen Hao squinted his eyes and 2 rays of light flashed. The task given to him by the Infinity Ancestor was to make a name for himself in the shortest time possible so that he could attract the attention of higher-level people. And this arena was undoubtedly Chen Hao's first step. If he couldn't even do this well, then there was no need to talk about the future of the Infinity Star. Shall we go in and take a look? Chen Hao asked. You can go by yourself. We won't go. We can just watch a battle of this level from outside, Helian Wuzi said. In fact, if they had enough celestial core crystals, they would be happy to enter the arena to experience it personally. But their wealth cards didn't have many celestial core crystals, Ari. After Chen Hao finished speaking, his mind moved. As if he was playing a game, the selection interface of the wealth card number appeared in his mind. After confirming to enter to view, his entire person disappeared from Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu's side. Phew! What a strong fighting spirit! In an instant, Chen Hao appeared in the arena. At this moment, a terrifying pressure pressed on Chen Hao. Although I felt their fighting spirit outside the arena was very strong, it's still far from what I'm feeling now. No wonder it costs 100 celestial core crystals. Just sensing this fighting spirit is beneficial to me. Let alone sensing the power of any of their moves? I'll go between them and take a look. Thinking of this, Chen Hao took a step forward. However, apart from Chen Hao himself, no one could see his existence. In fact, apart from the two experts, all the cultivators who entered the arena to watch were invisible. Otherwise, who knew how many people were there at this time? How could the two experts still fight? Amazing! Chen Hao was both surprised and excited. As he got closer and closer to the two experts, the terrifying battle intent and pressure became stronger and stronger. Even though the two of them were only Blessed Realm elites, the feeling they gave Chen Hao was that they were even stronger than the super-powerful elites at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial realm in the infinite planet. Just based on this aura alone, Chen Hao had to admit that it was not something he could compare to. Compared to other powerful planets, the Wuji star is indeed much weaker. Especially this kind of true genius. However, if I advance to the later stage of the human immortal realm, I think I won't be any weaker than them. Chen Hao spent 100 immortal essence crystals in order to clearly understand the gap between himself and a true genius. He also wanted to truly experience just how strong the battle skills of these influential figures were. A new world, a new beginning. Only by recognizing one's own strength could one make the correct judgment. Zhuge Hongchen is a powerhouse who ranks 13th in the human immortal realm. Zhuge Ming is 26th. However, Zhuge Ming's killing intent seems to be stronger. Is this possible? Chen Hao was in the middle of the battle intent between the two experts. He felt his body was as heavy as lead. If it was a real battle, Chen Hao was afraid that he could not exert 50% of his strength. However, because Chen Hao's soul power had reached the peak of the Earth's celestial realm, he could bear it completely. When Chen Hao was approaching Zhuge Ming step by step to carefully sense his killing intent, Chen Hao found that he could approach Zhuge Ming without any restrictions. This surprised Chen Hao a little. If it's a beautiful woman, wouldn't it attract more people? Chen Hao tried to walk half a foot in front of Zhuge Ming. When he could even see the hair on Zhuge Ming's face clearly, he was like air. He did not exist for Zhuge Ming. In fact, no matter if it was a beautiful woman or a handsome guy, it would attract more people. Just like now, Zhuge Hongchen and Zhuge Ming were the top figures in the human immortal realm. They had gone through many cruel battles in the arena to achieve their current status. How many admirers did they have? Just like now, except for Chen Hao, many female cultivators who were in love were using this special space to admire and even fantasize about their idols. Zhuge Ming, if I were you, I would challenge Zhang Wei and rank 15th. You still have a chance. Challenging me is courting death. 4 pairs of eyes stared at each other, and under the intense battle intent, qi exploded from time to time. Finally, under everyone's anticipation, drunken red dust spoke first. At this moment, their fighting intent and aura had soared to the limit. Courting death? If I didn't have absolute confidence, do you think I would challenge you? Let me tell you, the top 10 is my target. You are just one of my stepping stones. As for Zhang Wei, who ranks 15th, sorry, I am not in the mood to play with too many people. Arrogant. I will let you know the gap between you and me. Cut the crap, show me your moves. Boom. Vigorous, pure, and berserk energy burst out from drunken red dust's body as he spoke. Rumble. The air, which had been compressed to the limit, was like a bomb, producing countless air explosions. Pump. Clang. Meteor sword storm. Hiss. Zhuge Ming made his move without hesitation. He drew his sword and thrust it out in one smooth motion. In an instant, streaks of dazzling, sharp, and horrifying sword light covered Zhuge Hongchen like locusts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Child's play. Wimpum. Whoosh. Rumble, 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 rumble. The gust of wind blew. Zhuge Hongchen's body was floating. His palms formed many mysterious runes, which were circling around his body. They contained endless mystery, blocking, dragging, and detonating the sword radiance. Tai Chi, perfect circle? When Zhuge Hongchen made his move, Chen Hao widened his eyes in surprise. This was the first time in his life that he had seen someone use a consummate skill similar to that of Earth. However, when Chen Hao came to Zhuge Hongchen's side and felt the mysterious aura, He knew that this was not Tai Chi, it was just that it was similar to Tai Chi under the law of using force. It was not inferior to Tai Chi, the only difference was that Zui Hongqian only destroyed, not borrowed force. Violent, hesitant, not gentle, sword dragon break. In the sky full of sword rain, Zhuge Ming became one with his sword. The real killer move suddenly appeared. Chen Hao, who was sensing the mystery of Zui Hongqian's palm, was suddenly shocked. His pupils shrank, and he stared at the long black dragon that was roaring towards him. It was so condensed and sharp that Chen Hao could not imagine it. What was even more shocking was its speed. Boom! Chen Hao felt his vision go black, and an earth-shattering explosion sounded in his ears. Chen Hao was sure that if he was not a spectator, but a match, he would have lost. Moreover, he would lose without any suspense, and he would not even have time to react. Is this the difference between us? After regaining his consciousness, Chen Hao did not follow anyone else. Instead, he stared at the two people who were in a crazy battle and was shocked. Chapter 5:13. Whether it's physique, true core strength, or combat skills. I can't compare with those in the same realm on the Wuji star, or even those in the Earth's celestial stage. The gap is so big. Even with my special ability, it's impossible for me to challenge someone at a higher realm. When he was on the Wuji star, except for Dongfang Han, Chen Hao had never encountered a real threat. Even those who were one realm higher than him were no match for him, let alone those in the same realm. But now, there was always someone better than you. Even though Chen Hao had learned a thing or two from the Wuji ancestor and heavenly master Yunru, he was still shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. He's just a top genius in the Asianing star. What about the vast universe galaxy, or even this universe? It seems I still have a long way to go. Fuck, he's too strong. Phew. I can't bear it, dem. I wasted 100 pills. What a pity. I only watched my idol for a short while. Although I want to hold on, the pain is unbearable. After a while, when the battle between Zui Hongqian and Zhuge Ming engulfed the entire arena, many figures appeared out of thin air in the spectator area. There was no doubt that these people could not withstand the terrifying pressure, or that it was beyond their psychological tolerance, so they came out on their own. Old Wang, what do you think? I was right, wasn't I? You'll definitely lose this time. What's the hurry? He's only half out. Just wait and see. Let alone 15 minutes, all the cultivators in the human celestial stage, except for those at the top of the rankings, have run away in 5 minutes. Zhuge Ming has completed the death level task, so he's greatly improved. If I'm not mistaken, I'm afraid he hasn't even used 60% of his strength. If that's the case, I wouldn't dare to bet with you. Is there something fishy about Zui Hongqian? What do you think? I've lost to you every time before, but this time you'll definitely lose. If you want to blame someone, then blame yourself for not knowing the information. Then bet with me. If you agree to bet, then you must accept your loss. Don't even think about backing out. If Zui Hongqian didn't hide his strength, I wouldn't bet with you. In a one-sided battle, how much fighting spirit, pressure, and ultimate skills can one unleash? Don't be complacent. Other than the few little fellows you've designated, as long as one of them can last until the end of the battle, I'll win. Who knows, maybe a dark horse will appear. How can there be so many dark horses? Other than the few top geniuses that I've designated, the others are just here to see the real battle between the two of them, and there are also love-struck girls. It would be strange if someone could last until the end of the battle. Really? Old Lon, do you really think that I would bet with you if I wasn't confident? Think about how you lost in the past. The two old men in charge of monitoring the arena stared at the data and battle screen in front of them. The content of their bet was very simple. That was, before the end of the battle, the cultivators who entered the arena to personally experience the battle, except for a few designated experts, would not be able to bear the pain and would choose to withdraw from the arena to watch in advance. After all, even though the cultivators who were watching the battle were invisible, they would still be able to withstand all of the pressure, energy, and attacks that came into contact with them. Those who had a weaker state of mind would not be able to bear the pain as long as it exceeded their limits. Otherwise, not only would it not benefit them, but it would also damage their state of mind. The reality was just as one of them had predicted. In just 2 minutes, more than half of the cultivators who had entered the arena had withdrawn from the arena. However, the other old man was not nervous at all. He was still very calm. Boom, 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 boom. Sword light and palm shadows covered every corner of the arena. Zhuge Hongqian and Zhuge Ming were getting more and more shocked as the battle went on. At this moment, both of them realized that their opponent had been hiding his strength. Originally, Zhuge Ming thought that he would definitely be able to win with an overwhelming advantage and end the battle quickly. Moreover, he could continue to challenge those who were ranked higher without revealing his true strength. It was not impossible for him to make it to the top 3. But now, the terrifying combat strength that Zhuge Hongqian had displayed was not something that he could compare to before. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More and more spectators withdrew from the arena. The further back they were, the paler their faces were, and the more they broke out in cold sweat. It was obvious that they had all reached their limits. Even some of the cultivators who were aware of Zhuge Hongqian and Zhuge Ming's strength widened their eyes in shock. This included some of the top-ranked experts who had entered the arena secretly to watch the battle. Other than those few little fellows, there are only 200 left. It has only been 5 minutes, and both of them seem to have exerted 70% of their strength. A lower-grade sacred artifact. TSKSK, Old Wang. Wait till you win before you gloat. Soon, very soon. These 200 people are obviously in danger. They won't be able to hold on for more than a few breaths. The two who had placed their bets looked at a screen that showed all the cultivators who had entered the arena to watch the battle. One was extremely proud of his victory, while the other was still calm, but his eyes were fixed on the screen. Only they could see the screen. Everyone, including the cultivators who had entered the arena to watch the battle, could see the screen. At this moment, Chen Hao had tried to stand between the two of them and was hit by their attacks for the first time. He did not dare to let his guard down. To Chen Hao, 100 celestial core crystals was not a small amount. If he was hit a few more times, his mind would be muddled. He did not want to waste such a scene of a battle between experts. Therefore, at this moment, Chen Hao seemed to be in a difficult position. He dodged left and right to avoid the attacks of Zhuge Hongqian and Zhuge Ming. As time went by, just as the old man had expected, the number of spectators decreased rapidly. This made the old man, who was confident of his victory, even more proud. He did not notice Chen Hao in a difficult position at all. However, the old man, who was obviously in a disadvantageous situation, was staring at the screen. Strictly speaking, he was staring at Chen Hao in the crowd. "Little fellow, you can't let me down. A low-grade divine artifact is not a small amount to me. If I lose, the old man will definitely kill you 100 times. Under the old man's calm appearance, it was obvious that he was not really calm. The reason why he agreed to gamble with the other old man was entirely because at the beginning he saw the scene of Chen Hao being pierced through by Zhuge Ming's sword dragon break, and at that time, the other old man was staring at him to lure him into gambling and did not notice. This was the only reason he dared to bet. But now, Chen Hao's performance was indeed a little too difficult. He was not as strong as he had imagined. Chapter 5:14. The old man even thought that Chen Hao was just dodging and had not sensed the battle between Zhuge Ming and Zhuge Hongqian. Otherwise, he would have suffered some of the aftermath of the battle, right? With 0 battle records and such a clumsy performance, the old man was basically certain that not only was this Chen Hao's first time in the arena, he also did not have any experience. Otherwise, why would he waste 100 celestial core power crystals to fight in the arena? However, Chen Hao's dodging would allow him to last longer, which was what the old man was happy to see. As the two of them were forced to reveal their trump cards, the battle became more and more intense. The number of spectators in the arena was getting faster and faster. 18, only 18 left. No, it's 17 now. Old Wang, you will lose soon. Don't be so smug. Did you see that little guy called Xianxia? The others might not be able to do it, but he will definitely last until the end. Xianxia? The guy who is hiding? I saw him long ago. Are you kidding me? This guy is just trying to hide. When Zhuge Mingli and Drunken Red Dust reach their full power, he won't even be able to withstand the aftershocks. Is that so? Just wait and see. The old man called Old Wang did not intend to reveal that he had seen Xianxia withstanding the sword dragon break. Although Zhuge Ming and Zhuge Hongqian had only used 50% to 60% of their strength, Xianxia had withstood all of it. Old Wang believed that as long as Xianxia continued to hide, even if Zhuge Ming and Zhuge Hongqian used all of their strength to unleash their ultimate skills, the aftermath would not be able to force Xianxia out of the arena. 16. 15. Zhuge Hongqian, I have underestimated you. I thought 70% of my strength would be enough to defeat you. Now, it seems like I have to use all of my strength. Show me your true strength. While the other old man was proudly counting the number of people that were gradually decreasing, Zhuge Ming, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly drifted and moved 3 kilometers away. After a short period of condensing, he finally raised his power to 100%. So what if you use all of your strength? You will still lose. Fuck this. In an instant, the invisible onlookers could no longer bear the sudden increase in the large-scale attacks of the two. One by one, they disappeared from the ring in a panic. Rumble. Bang. Xianxia, who was moving quickly, was finally hit by the shockwaves from their attacks. So this is their strongest power? He is indeed very strong. The immense pressure, the intense pain from the attack, the momentary chaos in his mind, all sorts of uncomfortable feelings invaded Xianxia's brain nerves. However, at this moment, Xianxia was no longer as shocked as he was at the beginning. Instead, it was replaced by excitement for the exciting battle between the two. He had persisted until now because he wanted to witness their true strength and ultimate techniques. And now it had finally begun. This brat is still not going down? He probably won't be able to take another hit. No, he will definitely be able to persevere until the end. Old Wang, who was staring at Xianxia, was rather determined at this moment. Impossible. However, Old Wang, are you familiar with Xianxia? Why did you think he would be able to do it from the beginning? Although it has something to do with him being able to persevere until now, he still didn't withdraw after enduring the strongest shockwaves. His temperament is quite good. I don't know him. I've never heard of him. Didn't you see that his battle record is 0? Then why do you think he would be able to do it? Are you worried? I told you before, don't be complacent too early. Will I tell you that at the beginning you were staring at me and tempting me to bet, but didn't you see a very exciting scene? Old Lon, a low-grade divine weapon, TSK. Fuck. What did you see? Don't worry, the battle will end in at most 2 minutes. At that time, you can see the video recording, Xianxia did not know that he, who was invisible and invisible, would attract the attention of the surveillance personnel. Of course, even if he knew, Xianxia would not care. He spent money to enter this place to learn. No matter what, he would not miss this opportunity. And now, Xianxia deeply felt that it was worth it. If he did not watch this battle, Xianxia would have started the challenge journey directly. But now, he made a new decision. After all, his wealth card only had 10,000 immortal core crystals. How many battles could he fight? What was his winning rate? He would probably use it up in a few days. Moreover, he still had to stay on the Wuji Silver Wings for more than half a year. There was no way he could earn immortal core crystals. Of course, it did not mean that he could not earn immortal core crystals in the second world. After all, it was equivalent to a second world in the real world. There were many business opportunities, such as taverns, secret auction houses, restaurants, and some kind of entertainment industry that men liked very much. There were also entertainment industries that flirtatious women liked. Compared to the real world, it only lacked industries such as equipment, weapons, magic treasure materials, and so on. However, Xianxia had no interest in doing those things. As for the unique art auction, it was even more impossible. Firstly, the unique art that he had learned in this world was not qualified to be auctioned at all. Secondly, Chen Hao would definitely not auction the 3,000 great arts that were qualified to be auctioned. Even if there were many that were not useful to him, he would not sell them. Because that was his biggest secret, and he did not want to be the target of public criticism. Die. Crack. Rumble. Zhuge Ming finally raised his power to the peak, and at the same time, he released his most powerful sword. Tens of thousands of sword radiances condensed into thick thunderbolts that were like the punishment of heaven. The thunderbolts were dazzling and emitted a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. In an instant, it engulfed the entire arena, blocking any possible escape route for Zue Hongqian. Humph! Break it! Zue Hongqian's eyes shone with fanaticism, and he proudly released his palm. The vast and vigorous palm power turned into layers of pitch-black palm shadows, which were like small black holes, crazily rotating and mysterious as if they were going to devour everything in the world. Tens of thousands of sword radiances, layers of palm shadows. A sword against a palm. The thunderbolts exploded, and the black holes swallowed. Some of the palm shadows were shattered, and some of the sword radiances disappeared. At this moment, even the few geniuses that Lao Lan had selected, when faced with the unavoidable thunderbolts and black holes, all of them retreated from the arena in horror. However, Chen Hao, who looked like he was in a mess, was now bursting with intense battle intent and excitement. If he was not a bystander, the two old men would definitely think that he was going to fight with Zhuge Ming and Zue Hongqian. Fortunately, to the two parties, Chen Hao was like air, and no matter what he did, he would not affect them. Crack crack. Rumble rumble. The terrifying energy collided, and along with the earth-shattering explosion, it spread to the entire arena. Countless sword radiances bombarded Zue Hongqian, and at the same time, countless palm shadows hit Zhuge Ming hard. In just a few seconds, there was only one spectator left in the arena, Chen Hao. Including the geniuses that Lao Lan had selected, they all disappeared from the arena. No one had expected Zhuge Ming and Zue Hongqian's strength to be so terrifying. The two old men did not expect this. Impossible. Impossible. How could this Chen Hao withstand it? How could he withstand it? Lao Lan's expression was extremely gloomy and sad, and at the same time, he stared at Chen Hao, who was moving around in the midst of the terrifying attacks. Cough cough. Old Lan, to be honest, I didn't expect this either. I didn't expect Zhuge Ming and Zue Hongqian to be so strong, and I didn't expect this Chen Hao. He has such a good character, he is blessed by the heavens. Old Wang said in shock. In fact, when he saw that Zhuge Ming and Zue Hongqian's last attack was so powerful, he already thought that he was going to lose. However, he did not expect that when everyone had retreated from the arena, Chen Hao, a newborn calf, was still tenaciously holding on to his position. Regardless of whether it was Old Lan or Old Wang, the only feeling they had right now was that life was going up and down way too quickly. Chi. Zue Hongqian and Zhuge Ming let out two roars filled with unwillingness. Unfortunately, neither of them could stop the arrival of death. They both turned into white light and disappeared from the arena. Ding! The crisp sound of the system notification resounded around the arena. Zhuge Ming and Zue Hongqian tied. They are so strong. They are so damn strong. I did not expect that their strength had increased to such a level. I'm afraid they have the strength to enter the top 10 or even the top 5. Yes, no matter what, they will definitely enter the top 10. At least there is a 50% chance. Of course, the premise is that the top 10 experts have not made any amazing progress. Let's wait and see. There are only 2 months left before the new ranking list is determined. During this period, the arena will be very lively. Yes, I don't ask for much. I just want to enter the top 100. If I enter the top 100, I will be able to enter the subbing sect? Stop dreaming. You can't even defeat me. You want to enter the top 100? The subbing sect is the #1 sect on the subbing planet. Any disciple who enters the subbing sect can reach the peak of the heaven celestial stage in the future. Most of them can reach the half-step zenith heaven realm. The outstanding ones can definitely enter the ranks of the Daluo Jingxian. Moreover, they are all experts in the same realm. When all of the surrounding cultivators started to discuss spiritedly, Hellion Wuxi, Xia Yuyu, and Fei Lina all opened their eyes wide and looked at Qin Hao, who had just appeared beside them, with faces full of shock. Fei Lina, in particular, was indescribably shocked. She had also entered the arena to watch, but she could not withstand the terrifying pressure and withdrew from the arena a minute ago. However, Qin Hao had persevered until the end. Chapter 5:15. Qin Hao, I didn't expect your temperament to be so good. I dare to guarantee that the number of people who can persevere until the end of the battle can be counted on one hand. Without a rock-solid state of mind, one simply can't withstand the attacks and pressure of the two people. Persevering in there will instead cause one's state of mind to be injured. And you, it seems, you still haven't reached your limit? The tall and majestic Fei Lina looked down at Qin Hao. Judging purely from the aura, Qin Hao was merely on par with her. This was also the reason why she wanted to stand with Qin Hao from the start. Firstly, it was to test whether her good friend's Dao partner was really worthy of Hellion Wuxi. Secondly, it was to train herself. But now it seemed, at least in this second world, the chances of her defeating Qin Hao were very, very small. It's nothing. My movement technique is better, so if it's purely dodging, it's not a big problem. That's 100 immortal origin crystals. No matter what, I have to persevere until the end, right? Qin Hao said with a smile. At this moment, Qin Hao also noticed that everyone around him was staring at him in astonishment. Obviously, him being able to persevere until the end had attracted the attention of many people. This was actually something he didn't expect. Let's go to other places to take a look. Hellion Wuxi and Xia Yuyu also knew that it wasn't appropriate for them to continue staying here. The two of them naturally held onto Qin Hao's arm. With a flash of their figures, they quickly headed towards the other direction of the arena. Fei Lina also quickly followed. For the entire day, Qin Hao was watching the competition. However, he didn't enter any other arena. On the contrary, Hellion Wuxi, Xia Yuyu, and Fei Lina would spend 10 immortal origin crystals to enter the arena when they saw a battle that was beneficial to them. Seeing that the time limit was almost 24 hours, Qin Hao brought the two girls and directly left the arena. How, why are you just watching? Don't you want a challenge? After stepping out of the arena, Xia Yuyu couldn't help but ask. Initially, I wanted to challenge him, but after watching the match between Drunken Red Dust and Zhuge Ming, I realized that it would be a waste to challenge him now. What do you mean? Hellion Wuxi frowned slightly. I have to reach the medium stage of the human celestial stage before I start. This? Aren't you in the everlasting silver wings now? If you can't sense the existence of the law of heaven and earth in the outside world, you won't be able to resonate with it. Even if you can comprehend it in the second world, it will be very difficult for you to break through to the intermediate stage of the human immortal realm. What I lack is only the true essence. The small barrier in the human celestial stage is nothing for me. I don't need to communicate with the law of heaven and earth. Qin Hao was full of confidence. His divine punishment, which was far more powerful than his peers, had given him an unimaginable harvest. He could clearly feel that he could reach the medium stage of the human celestial stage even in the Silver Wing battleship. He's out? I also feel that it's a little strange. According to his character, he should have started the challenge immediately. He only stayed for a day, and now he's gone back to his residence. Master, he's a femme fatale? He has too many women. Do you think it's Hellion Wuxi and the others? If this goes on, I'm afraid it will affect him, and we don't have much time left. Outside the arena, Heavenly Lord Yuanru, who was at the Heaven Celestial stage, concealed his aura. He was wrapped up like a big black rice dumpling, and his original appearance could not be seen at all. The person who was talking to him, whom he called Master, was naturally the Infinity Ancestor. This is a problem. It will more or less affect him. It's not appropriate for me to show up. You can use my name to talk to Helian Wuxia, Xiaoyu, and the others about this. Everything has to be focused on cultivation. Now is not the time for them to be sentimental. Wait a moment. Oh. After a while, the Infinity Ancestor said again, his wealth card has consumed 105 celestial core crystals in the arena. His record is still 0. 5 celestial core crystals is the cost of entering the arena for a day. 100 celestial core crystals is for watching the battle between Zui Hongqin and Zhuge Ming? It should be. He didn't continue to stay. It should be because of this battle. Oh, I hope he can perform well in this half a year. He definitely won't be able to catch up with the rankings this time. All right. If there's any other news, send it to me immediately. Yes, Master. After disconnecting from the Infinity Ancestor, Heavenly Lord Yuanru let out a long sigh of relief. Although he had been the Infinity Ancestor's disciple for thousands of years, and was also a top figure in the Infinity Star, he was still respectful in front of his master. He felt like a young boy. Phew. Master values little junior brother so much more than I expected. I'm afraid even big senior brother didn't get so much attention from Master. Am I jealous? Little junior brother's talent has surpassed big senior brother, and now he's Master's only hope. This should be the case. Heavenly Lord Yuanru glanced at the low-level arena that only cultivators below the human celestial stage could enter, and his figure disappeared in a flash. Phew! In the Infinity Silverwing in the chaotic space, Chen Hao let out a long sigh and opened his eyes. At this moment, his mind hadn't left the second world. He was simply multitasking. This was a very simple matter for any cultivator. He was comprehending the laws of heaven and earth in the cultivation room of his residence in the second world. At the same time, he was about to begin the cultivation of his true body. Old God, how do you feel? Old God asked eagerly. Old God, treasure hunter, and the others couldn't enter the second world with Chen Hao. After all, only a strand of Chen Hao's divine consciousness had entered. As for the condensed true body of the second world, it was only Chen Hao himself. None of the special existences in his mind could appear. It's all right. This world is more exciting than I imagined. With my current stage and strength, I should be among the top geniuses on the Ying planet. However, in the vast universe galaxy, it's hard to say. Chen Hao recounted the battle between Zui Hongqin and Zhuge Ming in the second world. That seems to be the case now. However, you're different from them. So you're not going to challenge them now? Yes, I only have 10,000 celestial core crystals. Even if I can fight for a while, I won't earn much. I want to advance to the medium human celestial stage before I start. I'll have to rely on you to replenish the energy of heaven and earth. Oh, that's fine. However, Tianfa asked us to fuse this time. Although your mind world has been completely transformed, and the panther fruit, spirit tree, and spirit spring can condense celestial core crystals, the quality is a little low, and the speed of condensation is a little slow. It's not a problem to maintain your usual recovery needs, but I'm afraid it won't meet your needs if you want to refine your true origin and break through the barrier. I see. How much do you think I need? And you, how long will it take you to get what I need? Now you can't absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Even if you use the spirit spring itself, it will take you 5 or 6 months. If you can connect to the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, it will take you at most 2 months to break through the barrier. Chen Hao frowned slightly. 5 or 6 months was too long. Forget it, I'll ask senior brother Yu. At most, I'll make a deal with him. After saying that, Chen Hao glanced at the beautiful sisters who had entered the state of cultivation. Then he stood up quietly and walked directly to the control room. Junior brother, what's the matter? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru was also multitasking. In the second world, he was still monitoring his junior brother's every move. At this time, he sensed Chen Hao's arrival in the control room. He asked in surprise. More or less, he had a guilty conscience. Of course, he was more curious about why Chen Hao was looking for him. There's something. I want to borrow some celestial core crystals from you, senior brother. I can also exchange something with you. What do you think? No problem, but What do you need celestial core crystals for now? For cultivation. I don't want to waste half a year. To tell you the truth, I've already comprehended the barrier of the medium stage of the human celestial stage. All I need is to refine my true origin. Now, I can use primordial crystal stones to recover. If I want to break through the barrier, it's too far away. So, I can only ask for your help. Cough cough. Awesome. Why didn't you say so earlier? If I had known, I would have given you celestial core crystals. Don't talk about borrowing. If Master knows about this, he will definitely reward you even more. I have 3,000 here, you can use them first. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru said generously. 3,000 celestial core crystals was not a small amount for him. Of course, this referred to the cash he had. In the vast universe galaxy, no one would carry that many celestial core crystals with them. Under normal circumstances, it was enough for a period of time. The rest was stored in the wealth card and could earn a certain amount of interest. When it was time to use it, he could go to any wealth center to get it. It was a very simple matter, not much different from the banks on Earth. Okay, thank you, senior brother. When I have the money, I will definitely return it to you. First, I will give you something as interest. No need to be so polite. What are you doing? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru waved his hand and said. Halfway through, he stared at the thing that appeared in Chenhao's hand, full of curiosity. I don't know what it is. When I was training in the Limitless Star, I happened to pick it up. Although the material is not precious, the ancient aura it emits seems to contain the most original heavenly Tao law. Maybe it will be of some use to you. Cough, cough. This is more than just useful. Junior brother, the value of this thing is not just 3,000 celestial core crystals. This is something that can only be obtained in the primordial space of a planet. At least it can be auctioned for 10,000 celestial core crystals. It can't be, right? Hearing Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's words, Chenhao was surprised. He had long known that the stone obtained from the 9 Nether Cold Pond was not trash even in the vast universe galaxy, but he didn't think it was worth much. How is it not? You also said that the ancient aura in it is the most original heavenly Tao law. Even the simplest kind of origin energy is extremely precious. Of course, what is precious is not the energy itself, but the mystery of the origin. More than 6,000 words. Recently, Dark Mountain's update has not been good, but I still ask for everyone's support. The monthly vote is too ugly. Can you give me one? Chapter 516. After Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's explanation, Chenhao finally understood how precious the profundity of origin was. Every planet had a primordial space, but unless one was the creator of the planet or a true expert who surpassed the creator's comprehension of the heavenly Tao, no one could enter the primordial space. Just like the Wuji star's 9 Nether Frost Pond, even the Wuji star ancestor could not enter. Firstly, the Wuji star ancestor's mark of life was in the Wuji star ancestor's river of life and was restricted by the heavenly Tao. Secondly, the Wuji star ancestor's comprehension of the heavenly Tao was unable to surpass the creator's. However, Chenhao, a special existence that did not belong to the Wuji star, had entered the primordial space with his superb comprehension and great opportunity. Everything in the primordial space, not to mention the most precious stone that Chenhao had taken out, contained the mysteries of the origin. This represented the founder of the infinite star's highest understanding of the law of heaven. Even the simplest law of heaven was related to the mysteries of the origin. Otherwise, it would be impossible to condense a real planet that could exist for eternity. However, this already did not have much meaning to Chenhao. The reason why Chenhao did not realize the value of the profundity of origin was because he had already comprehended it. Otherwise, he would not have been able to enter the 9 Nether Frost Pond. In Chenhao's opinion, this was just a basic heavenly Tao law. There was nothing special about it. But now, Chenhao knew that the reason why he could use the profundity of his power to the extreme and challenge those of a higher level was related to the depth of his comprehension of the heavenly Tao law. After Chen Hao stuffed the stone into heavenly venerate Yuanru's hands, he returned to the cabin. After informing the sisters, Chen Hao condensed a mysterious sealing boundary around himself and immersed himself in cultivation. Immortal origin crystal, tempering true origin. He has to cultivate even here? Chen Hao's actions surprised many people. They were more or less confused. In particular, Bailey Ningbing, who hated Chen Hao to the core, stared at Chen Hao fiercely. Ever since she was young, it had always been others who tried to curry favor with and flatter her. She had always been a high and mighty existence. Among her peers, and even those older than her, she was the most outstanding. Adding on her identity as the granddaughter of the Limitless Devil Palace's palace master, she had developed an arrogant and prideful personality. But Chen Hao actually treated her like a worn-out shoe and completely disregarded her. That kind of coldness and indifference had seriously hurt her self-esteem. How was she any worse than Chen Hao's woman? She was no worse than any of them. She'd always felt that so long as she was willing to compromise, then Chen Hao would surely be eager to be her Dao companion and obediently assist her in comprehending the undying sword Dao. So long as she comprehended the undying sword Dao, then she would be able to cultivate a true ultimate technique. Even on the Asianing planet, it was definitely a top-notch unique skill. But, I will definitely let you know the consequences of trampling on my dignity. No matter what, I will comprehend the true Dao law. No matter what. Just you wait. One day, I will make you regret it. With my looks and talent, what kind of Dao partner can't I find? Limitless Star, you are indeed a top genius. For now, even I can't compare to you. But one day, I will surpass you. I will surpass everyone, including the forefather. Bailey Ningbing's eyes flashed with coldness. Chi. The second world, Yang City, elementary training grounds. Within an independent space, Bailey Ningbing was sweating profusely. Her alluring body was twisting and turning as she stabbed her opponent. And this opponent's appearance was Chen Hao. It was so lifelike that there was almost no difference between him and Chen Hao. The only difference was the look in his eyes. His eyes were a little dull, and compared to Chen Hao, they were a little less lively. This was the power of the second world. As long as you had enough wealth, you could simulate any opponent. Of course, the person you wanted to simulate must have appeared in the second world. Otherwise, it would be impossible to cook a meal without rice. Moreover, the simulated person had a certain benefit. Every time they were simulated, they could take 1/10 of the commission. In other words, every time Bailey Ningbing simulated Chen Hao would receive 1/10 of the cost. This was the rule of the second world. Die. I want you dead. To rumble. An incomparably sharp sword light containing the aura of the undying way of the sword suddenly shot out from Chen Hao's hand. Bailey Ningbing's originally disheveled figure turned into a streak of white light again, disappearing from the training grounds. This was the 5th time. Every time, it would cost 1,000 immortal origin crystals. This was undoubtedly extremely expensive for a newcomer who had just stepped into the second world. Even Chen Hao couldn't afford it for the time being. However, Bailey Ningbing didn't seem to care. Not long after she disappeared, she reappeared in the training grounds. It had to be said that as the most beloved granddaughter of the Limitless Demon Palace Master, the granddaughter he placed his hopes on, the Limitless Demon Palace Master was very willing to nurture her. In comparison, the wealth card that the Limitless Demon Ancestor gave to Chen Hao was much more shabby. It wasn't that the Limitless Demon Ancestor was stingy. It was just that everyone had their own way of nurturing. The Limitless Demon Ancestor didn't want Chen Hao to be a master of wealth. Although it couldn't be said to be spoiling things by pulling up seedlings, it would lose a very precious quality and the source of motivation for Chen Hao to work hard. Losing this alone was nothing. What was really lost was some great opportunities and great fortune that should have appeared in the training. This was the key. After all, when one didn't have to worry about wealth, they wouldn't have the heart to take risks and do missions to earn wealth. And great opportunities and great luck often existed in dangerous missions. You are indeed very, very strong. However, I believe that the real you is definitely not a match for this simulated you. As long as I can defeat him, I can definitely defeat you. Bailey Ningbing gritted her teeth and spent another 1,000 immortal origin crystals to simulate Chen Hao. Just as Bailey Ningbing said, any simulated cultivator would basically be stronger than the real cultivator in terms of combat power. The reason was very simple. The simulated cultivator's physical body, true yuan, comprehension of the heavenly Tao, mental state, soul, and other aspects were completely the same as the real cultivator. The only difference was that the simulated cultivator would follow the supreme laws of the second world to simulate the strongest combat power under these conditions. Therefore, as long as Bailey Ningbing could defeat this fake Chen Hao, she would be able to defeat the real Chen Hao without any accidents. Chen Hao completely didn't know that Bailey Ningbing had become his child of wealth. Even though each 1/10 was only 100 celestial origin crystals, the number of times was still quite considerable. Especially to Chen Hao, who was relatively poor now, it was even more precious. Chen Hao also didn't know that in another elementary independent training ground, someone had simulated him. Brother Chen, although you can't really hear it, I still have to say, like you. There has never been anyone who can make me like, so much. Chi. Shimin Feng's disgusting words and his gaze towards Chen Hao. If Chen Hao heard or saw this, he would probably have the heart to kill himself. What kind of fucking masterpiece was this? The legendary arrow of Cupid, at least get a woman, right? It was fine even if she was a little ugly, at least she didn't give him goosebumps. Luckily, when Shimin Feng wanted to touch the simulated Chen Hao, he was killed by a sword and turned into a ray of white light with a scream. This was also the law of the second world. You could simulate any opponent, but if you wanted to fulfill some kind of filthy wish by simulating an opponent, sorry, you couldn't do it. The only thing you could do was to fight. Either you die or I die in a fight. Otherwise, how terrible would it be? Who knew how many shameless fellows would spend money to satisfy their filthy needs? Shimin Feng soon appeared again. The feeling of death made his face pale, but his eyes were shining with a bright and excited light. I can die for you, die for you. Not to mention once, even if it's 100 times, 1,000 times, I'll do it. One day, you will understand that I am your true love. I believe that I will definitely be able to move you. I didn't expect that your talent and combat strength would be so strong. I will definitely work hard. I will become an expert who can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Chen Hao appeared again and launched an extremely powerful attack mercilessly and coldly. Once again, he easily ended Shimin Feng's life. One was vengeful, the other was farce. The two of them had coincidentally become Chen Hao's money givers. For Chen Hao, this was really a windfall. Even he didn't know what was going on, but the celestial core crystals in his wealth card kept increasing. Master, junior brother is amazing. When Chen Hao began to focus on refining his true core strength, in the second world, heavenly venerable Yuanru, who was wrapped up like a black dumpling, called the Infinity Ancestor again. What's the matter? The Infinity Ancestor's voice was still ethereal. Junior brother said that he has already comprehended the barrier of the medium stage of the human celestial stage. He just borrowed some celestial core crystals from me. He wants to break through to the medium stage of the human celestial stage first. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid he will only start to challenge in the arena after breaking through to the medium stage. What? He has already comprehended the barrier? Are you sure? Junior brother shouldn't be lying to me, right? After all, if he doesn't comprehend the barrier in the Silver Wing, it's useless to just refine his true core strength. This is indeed strange. After all, he just went through the heavenly punishment and consolidated his cultivation base. Keep an eye on him and report to me if there's any news. Yes. After cutting off the connection with heavenly venerable Yuanru, a figure disappeared from the huge palace. When he reappeared, he was also in the cultivation field. However, this figure entered the advanced cultivation field. Chapter 517. simulated Chen Hao, the Wuji star. Swoosh. In an instant, Chen Hao's figure appeared in the independent training ground. Little guy, it seems like I have to test your real combat power. Although you can't surpass this simulated version of you, at least you can let me know your ultimate combat power more accurately. Swoosh. The simulated Chen Hao did not care about anything. Even the Wuji ancestor was just a dual opponent in front of him. Why would he listen to the Wuji ancestor's nagging? He directly drew his sword coldly. Not bad. Swift and fierce, continuous attack after attack. Although it was not a threat to an expert like the Wuji ancestor praised it secretly. At least the attack power contained in it was not inferior to the top geniuses in the same realm. Suppressing his own power, the Wuji ancestor began to fight with Chen Hao. An hour later, the Infinity ancestor left the cultivation field with a mixture of surprise and joy in his eyes. The great Tao is shapeless, 3,000 forms. Tao follows nature, everything is Tao. Inside the infinite silver wings, Chen Hao's mind resounded with the chanting of the evening drum and morning bell. The outline of the great Tao flowed into his mind word by word, like a clear spring that nourished every cell in his body. At the same time, the celestial origin crystals were being refined and absorbed by Chen Hao at a shocking speed. They surged violently in his meridians. Chen Hao's aura became more and more majestic as the energy in his body increased. Chen Hao felt that his body was inflated like a balloon, expanding and expanding infinitely. The stars became smaller and smaller. It was as though as long as Chen Hao wanted to, he could casually smash a star into pieces. The feeling of power had expanded to an unbelievable level. At this moment, he was the supreme divine truth that could crush everything and dominate the life and death of all things. Of course, this was only a kind of artistic conception. It was a kind of artistic conception that was produced when one was immersed in an ethereal state of cultivation. In short, this feeling was wonderful. It was so wonderful that any cultivator would be immersed in it and be unable to extricate themselves. Chen Hao was no exception. It was a pity that such a scene could not be maintained for too long. When the energy around Chen Hao's body was condensed to the limit, the comfortable feeling turned into an excruciating pain that almost made his body explode. Chen Hao knew that the time to break through the barrier of the mid-stage human immortal stage was coming. Endure! 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 Chen Hao clenched his teeth and endured. He continued to temper himself crazily. He was very clear that the only way to break through the barrier was to condense to his true limit, to the limit that he could not bear. Only at that time would he have the greatest chance of success in one go. Otherwise, he might fail. Once he failed, it would mean that he would have to start all over again. This kind of result was not what Chen Hao wanted. Not only was it a waste of immortal origin crystals, it was also a waste of time. Break for me. Finally, when Chen Hao could no longer bear it, the meridians in his body suddenly reversed, and the surging true essence, at this moment, was like a river bursting its banks, howling like a fierce tiger leaving its cage, or a flood dragon emerging from the sea, violently charging towards the barrier. Rumble! Rumble! There were two explosions, one in Chen Hao's dantian, and the other in the cabin of the infinite silver wings. At this moment, an extremely powerful energy wave gushed out of Chen Hao's body without restraint, directly shattering the barrier that he had condensed. At the same time, Chen Hao, who was comprehending the law of heaven in the second world, also directly disappeared from the second world uncontrollably, his mind completely condensing into his body. Ah, condense! Qi, condense! Condense for me! Just when all the cultivators in the cabin were awakened by the sudden explosion of Chen Hao, and many people screamed, Holy Master Yuanru, who had been paying attention to Chen Hao, suddenly appeared and attacked him as fast as lightning. However, even Holy Master Yuanru had underestimated how powerful the energy that gushed out of Chen Hao's body was. One seal was not enough, so Holy Master Yuanru had to increase his strength again, and he had to release 2 seals consecutively to completely confine the energy of the explosion. Everyone, including the sisters who were awakened, stared at Chen Hao in horror. The medium stage of the human celestial stage. He reached the medium stage of the human celestial stage in this place. That's too fast. After the human celestial stage, even if it's a small stage without enough talent and comprehension, it will take a long time to break through. No wonder he's called the number one genius of the infinite star. He has just stepped into the human celestial stage, and he can break through to the medium stage of the human celestial stage in this place that is completely isolated from the outside world. He must have comprehended the barrier of the medium stage of the human celestial stage long ago. That's right, there's no comparison, phew. Amidst the buzz of discussion, Chen Hao let out a long sigh of relief and opened his eyes. He scanned the crowd embarrassedly and said, Sorry, I didn't expect to cause such a big commotion. I'm sorry for disturbing everyone. It's okay. Congratulations, Brother Chen. Brother Chen, congratulations. While almost everyone was congratulating Chen Hao with envy, Bailey Ningbing glared at Chen Hao and snorted coldly. Jealousy, hatred, how could she do this? Even the original Chen Hao could completely trample her when he simulated it. What if it was the current Chen Hao? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru looked at Chen Hao and did not know what to say. In fact, he was also speechless. Not to mention the others, even he, who was at the heavenly celestial stage, could only be envious of this little junior brother of his. How long had it been since Chen Hao started refining his true yuan? Only 10 days. 10 days, just 10 days. If it was only because the refining speed was fast, he could still accept it. However, the explosion of energy that Chen Hao had just unleashed was clearly beyond his expectations. How many immortal essence crystals did he need to refine? Or rather, how many immortal essence crystals did Chen Hao absorb? He could not help but be shocked by the combination of these 2 points. He did not dare to say that it was unprecedented, but at least he had never seen anyone who could refine so many immortal essence crystals in such a short time. Junior brother, come with me. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru directly pulled Chen Hao's hand and disappeared from the cabin. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru sensed Chen Hao's restrained aura and could not help but ask after they arrived at the control room, Junior brother, how's the improvement? About 2 to 3 times. After consolidating my realm, I should be able to improve a little to 4 times. Chen Hao said with a smile. 2 to 3 times, and you're still saying it's not bad? 4 times after consolidating your realm, and you're still saying it's a little? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru felt that he had been dealt a heavy blow by this little junior brother. This was just an improvement of a small realm in the human celestial stage. Such a terrifying improvement of a small realm, and he still said it's a little? How was he going to let others live? Senior brother, that... Chen Hao scratched his head awkwardly and said, Can you lend me some more immortal essence crystals? Cough cough. You've used up all of them? Almost, but I still want to refine. It's definitely not enough. You still want to refine? You've already advanced to the intermediate human celestial stage. You just need to consolidate your realm. A few immortal essence crystals should be enough. Chen Hao looked at Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's expression and felt a little embarrassed. However, if he did not say it out loud, there was no reason for him to borrow immortal essence crystals. Chen Hao really did not want to hurt him. Therefore, although he was embarrassed, he still had to say it. Scratching his head, Chen Hao said softly, Senior brother, that I think I've also comprehended the barrier to the advanced human celestial stage. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru jumped to his feet. His eyes widened and his hands grabbed Chen Hao's shoulders nervously. Cough cough. Senior brother, calm down. I know it's a little, but it's not too strange. After all, when I triggered the heavenly punishment, my soul realm was already half a step away from the heaven celestial stage. Moreover, the heavenly punishment I triggered was way beyond my soul realm. Moreover, I resisted it head-on. Comprehending the barrier to the advanced human celestial stage is really not a big deal. Not a big deal. How is this not a big deal? After reaching the human celestial stage, let alone the Wuji star, even in the entire vast universe galaxy, I've never heard of anyone who could directly comprehend the barrier to the intermediate and advanced human celestial stages at the initial human celestial stage. That's 2 stages. It's like you're separated by a wall and you're touching another wall. It's completely illogical. Senior brother, I'm afraid you've never heard of this before. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this situation, Xianxia said. Oh. Anyway, this is great news, super great news. I admit that I've been completely defeated by your freakish junior brother. Then, this was 7,000 immortal origin crystals, which was also the only cash senior brother had. It should be enough for you to break through the barrier. If it's not enough, I'll have to borrow it from those earthly celestials and return it to them in Yang City. It should be enough. Thank you, senior brother, Xianxia said. You can practice here in case it's too shocking. I'll help you condense the seal. Okay. After informing the sisters, Xianxia began to practice again in the control room. This time, he didn't even go to the second world. He wholeheartedly focused on refining his true essence. To be honest, this was something that Xianxia hadn't expected. Originally, both he and the old god estimated that it would take at least 1 or 2 months to break through the barrier of the middle stage. However, it only took him 10 days to do so. The reason was very simple. Xianxia's understanding of the outline of the Great Tao had deepened, which increased his speed of refining the celestial core crystals by several times. Moreover, what surprised Xianxia even more was that in this space where the law of heaven was sealed, his mind seemed to be connected with heaven and earth, penetrating this layer of space. This was the real reason why Xianxia had comprehended the barrier of the late-stage human immortal stage. As for what he had told Heavenly Master Yuanru, it was completely a bluff. Chapter 5:18. No matter how good a person's comprehension was, it was impossible for him to comprehend another barrier in the human celestial stage. No one had ever done that before, and no one would do that in the future. As Lord Yuanru said, it was impossible to comprehend another barrier through a barrier unless the first barrier was pierced through. However, when Xianxia broke through the barrier of the middle stage, he had connected heaven and earth with the primary outline of the Great Path. Moreover, he had comprehended the barrier of the late stage with the help of his half-step heaven celestial stage soul state and superb comprehension. Anyway, it was absolutely against the natural order. After Xianxia entered the state of cultivation, Lord Yuanru sent a message to the Infinity Ancestor in the second world as soon as possible and reported everything about Xianxia. This time, the Infinity Ancestor was truly shocked to the extreme. He reached the middle stage in such a short time, and he comprehended the barrier of the late stage. The Infinity Ancestor was still in disbelief after being repeatedly affirmed by Lord Yuanru. Even the Infinity Ancestor had never heard of such a thing, let alone Lord Yuanru. However, Lord Yuanru had no guts or reason to lie. It was obviously the truth. It seems that he won't start the challenge in the arena until he reaches the late stage of the human celestial stage. If so, the wealth card I gave him is far from enough. In the arena, a cultivator at the late stage of the human celestial stage would usually bet 100 celestial core crystals per match. For Xianxia, who had improved his stage quickly, what he lacked the most was combat skills and experience. It was almost certain that he would lose more than he would win. Well, give him another 10,000. Whether he can make it to the Asian Ing planet depends on himself. The Infinity Ancestor had a very high status in the wealth center. He could directly contact the customer service and transfer the money in time. Moreover, he was the one who gave Xianxia the anonymous wealth card, so he naturally knew the account number. However, when the customer service staff finished transferring the money and reported the balance, he was slightly surprised. It was 23,400 celestial core crystals. I simulated him once in the cultivation field. 1/10 of it is 100 celestial core crystals. How could it be so much more? Did many people imitate him? The Infinity Ancestor frowned. That must be it. Who would have thought that this brat would have such an enemy when he just entered the second world? Looks like it should be related to those little girls. The Limitless Ancestor had guessed a little right. It was indeed because of Hellion Wuxi and the others that someone had imitated Chen Hao. However, the real enemy of Chen Hao had nothing to do with Hellion Wuxi and the others. Huan Lei, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with Hao Hao? When Leng Ning Huan and Leng Ning Lu reappeared in the second world, they immediately contacted Hellion Wuxi and Xiaoyu. The two of them were clearly anxious and worried. After all, how could Chen Hao and the two girls suddenly disappear from the second world? Moreover, they didn't even give them a heads up. As one of the owners of this place, if Chen Hao and the two sisters suddenly disappeared from the cultivation room, they would have received a notification. How could he not be worried? In particular, Chen Hao and the others were flying in the chaotic space. If they encountered any accidents, it would be disastrous. Don't worry, it's a good thing. Brother Hao had just broken through to the intermediate human celestial stage. When Brother Hao broke through to the intermediate human celestial stage, his aura was too strong. It detonated the protective barrier that he had condensed. Both of us sensed the dangerous aura and left the second world. In fact, all the cultivators in the Silver Wing cabin were shocked by Chen Hao's terrifying breakthrough and left the second world. That scared us to death. Hao advanced so quickly? Why isn't he coming in? Brother Hao. He seems to have comprehended the barrier to the advanced human celestial stage again. No way? This is really abnormal. Brother Hao always surprises us. Who would have thought? He wants us to tell you that before he advances to the advanced human celestial stage, he won't come in. You don't have to wait for him. If you want to do a mission, go ahead and do it. After the four girls finished talking, the sisters did not use the teleportation portal. Instead, they quickly flew back to their residence. They did not have any wealth cards. Even if they did, they would not be willing to waste celestial metacrystals on the teleportation portal. Imitate Wuji star Chen Hao. Bailey Ning Bing entered the second world again. After arriving at the elementary cultivation room, she immediately gave the order. Sush. The lifelike Chen Hao directly appeared. Sensing Chen Hao's aura and staring at Chen Hao's cold face, Bailey Ningbing gnashed her teeth in hatred. Her anger for no reason rose more and more fiercely. He hasn't come in after advancing to the intermediate human celestial stage. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this. The moment Chen Hao drew his sword, Bailey Ningbing also moved crazily. After being ravaged for more than 10 times in a row, her improvement was also very considerable. At the very least, it was already very unlikely for the simulated Chen Hao to win in 2 minutes. Strictly speaking, this improvement could be called godly speed. However, it was just a matter of money. At the same time, one had to admit that Bailey Ningbing was a ruthless person. How could an ordinary person withstand the pain of being truly killed? More than 10 times in a row? This is the last time. I have no reason to keep giving you money. Tomorrow is the moment I step into the arena. My name, Bailey Ningbing, will definitely rise quickly. Bailey Ningbing's eyes were burning with madness. In her mind, it was as if she could see herself being cheered by thousands of people in the arena. Of course, she didn't blindly believe that her strength would allow her to dominate the arena. Her biggest advantage was her appearance and potential. The cultivators of the Wuji Star were known for their handsome men and beautiful women, and she was one of the best in the Wuji Star. Her goal was simple. She wanted to make friends with some truly powerful people who coveted her beauty. She wanted to take back her dignity from Chen Hao at all costs. In the past, Bailey Ningbing wouldn't have bothered to do this. It was all because of Chen Hao. When a woman went crazy, she was far scarier than a man. Especially a femme fatale. Everyone, we have entered a relatively safe area. Now, you can see the chaotic space filled with complicated energy and all kinds of mysteries. Hiss. Heavenly Lord Yuanru stepped out of the control room when the Silver Wing Infinity had been sailing for a month. As he spoke, windows suddenly opened on both sides of the Silver Wing Infinity's roof, revealing a layer of transparent material that looked like glass. They could clearly see the outside world. The chaotic space is a mysterious space. It's more mysterious and majestic than the space of Wuxia star and the entire vast universe galaxy. Many powerful ultimate techniques and heavenly Tao laws were comprehended and created by cultivators in the chaotic space. When you step into the heavenly immortal realm and can travel freely in the chaotic space, you will naturally understand its mystery and majesty. Vast Universe Galaxy is just one of the more powerful galaxies in the universe. In the universe, there are countless galaxies that have been discovered and those that have yet to be discovered. No one can give an accurate number of how many there are. But the chaotic space is the medium that connects all the galaxies and planets. If we didn't have the chaotic space and flew in the original space, it wouldn't be as simple as half a year for us to reach the Yang planet. It would take us decades or even centuries. Heavenly Lord Yunru gazed at the magnificent chaotic space and said, "Well, now you are free to look around. Although you can't enter it, you can still learn a thing or two about its mysteries. If you're lucky and have good comprehension, you might be able to comprehend something useful. That would be a great deal." Heavenly Lord Yu, can you comprehend it just by looking at it? Of course. Although the probability is very small, it is not impossible. In the past, my eldest senior brother was in the Silver Wing, and it was also when he stepped out of the Wuxia star for the first time that he comprehended the heavenly dragon star shattering fist. That's a supreme technique of the human immortal realm. Work hard. However, there's no need to force it. Not only does it require comprehension, it also requires luck. If youngest junior brother didn't cultivate at this time, I wonder if he could comprehend anything from the chaotic space? After saying that, Heavenly Lord Yuanru returned to the control room. He glanced at Chen Hao, who was completely immersed in cultivation, and shook his head slightly. I think too much. Why do I always compare youngest junior brother with eldest senior brother? Youngest junior brother has surpassed eldest senior brother in all aspects, but if he wants to comprehend it at this time, he still needs a great opportunity. Eldest senior brother only comprehended it when he saw stars colliding and collapsing. In the cabin, basically everyone was multitasking. A strand of mind was immersed in the second world, while the real body was fully focused on the endless chaotic space. Profound, vast, mysterious, from time to time, bright starlight flashed by. Sometimes it was one, sometimes it was several, and sometimes it was a continuous meteor shower. Although no sound could be heard, and no energy storm in the chaotic space could be felt, everyone knew that the bright blooming time and time again was the fall of a star. Humans, let alone ordinary people, even celestial immortals and Daluo Jingxian, so what? Compared to the mysterious chaotic space, they were all small and insignificant. If stars could fall, then what about humans? Nothing could be truly eternal. Phew! In the cabin, Bailey Ningbing let out a long sigh and opened her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, she ignored everyone's gaze and looked directly at the control room. Then, the corner of her mouth curled up, brimming with pride and disdain. It's only been a few days. How many young talents want to befriend me? What are you compared to them? What right do you have to trample on my dignity and ignore my existence? Unfortunately, none of them are qualified. What I want is a true powerhouse, a powerhouse with a strong background. I still need to raise my level and strength. Only by raising my level can I befriend people of a higher level. The chaotic space, the evolution of stars, contains the eternal truth of immortality and indestructibility. Although the hope is not great, but before I reach celestial immortal, this is my only chance. The second world will end for now. Bailey Ningbing's eyes became misty and distant, her mind completely immersed in observing the chaotic space. Chapter 5:19. The infinite silver wings shuttled through the chaotic space. Nobody knew that in a place far, far away, a piece of flying magical equipment that was 10 times larger than the infinite silver wings was hovering in the chaotic space quietly, drifting randomly with the space storms. Every once in a while, it would return to its original position, as if it were waiting for something. Inside the cabin, there were 50 Earth celestial experts, 100 human celestial experts, and 2 heavenly celestial experts. Although they looked human, their figures and appearances were very different from the cultivators of the Wuji star. Senior brother, Master sent the 2 of us here to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife. I can handle heavenly venerable Yunru alone. Why bother you, senior brother? You can't say that. Heavenly venerable Yuanru has never liked to fight with others, but if you underestimate him, I'm afraid you'll be at a disadvantage. Think about it. Which of Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's 4 disciples is simple? Heavenly Venerable Yuanru must have a hidden trump card, but he's low-key and never exposed it. Even I have to be careful when facing him. Senior brother, aren't you underestimating yourself too much? Before coming here, I simulated Heavenly Venerable Yuanru and won easily. Don't forget, a simulated opponent can never simulate the real hidden power. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru is basically replacing Patriarch Wuji to control the Wuji star. How can he be as simple as he looks? Moreover, he's been at the peak of the late-stage Heavenly Celestial for over 1,000 years. His combat skills and experience are definitely on par with the simulated one, or even better. Alright, let's wait patiently. The main target this time is not Heavenly Venerable Yuanru. It's easy to defeat him, but it's impossible for the 2 of us to kill him. We just have to kill the target. Senior brother, about the target, I think Master is making a mountain out of a molehill. It's just a little guy who just stepped into the human celestial stage. How can he turn the Wuji star around in just 50 years? That's impossible, right? That's not Patriarch Wuji's target. According to Master's investigation, that kid's talent is definitely the best on the Wuji star. He's much stronger than us. So what? No matter how strong his talent was, it was nothing compared to those powerful planets that were ranked at the top. I know what you're trying to say. You're just saying that the Infinity Ancestor wants that kid to be valued by someone really important. But that's not very likely. The top forces of the Asian Ing planet are at best. No, you don't know the situation. According to the information they had gathered, the heavenly punishment he had triggered was the legendary 7-colored heavenly punishment. It covered an area of more than 200,000 li. Most importantly, he was very young. He did not even have 60 years of lifespan. His deeds are even more amazing and full of legends. He's that strong? Yes, many people have verified it. There's absolutely no mistake. Junior brother, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you really need to change your character. Master told us not to underestimate anyone. It was better to be safe than sorry. As long as there was even the slightest possibility, they had to kill it. Master's 10,000 years of painstaking effort must not fall short of success. Most importantly, you often neglect the details. Oh, also, it's not just our planet that's here this time. There's also a strong opponent who's as strong as us. 50 years later, they'll also be our competitors. Ah? Do we have to deal with them too? Why do we have to deal with them? The people who come can't affect the overall situation. Master let us use the Black Hawk just in case there's a conflict between us and them. When the time comes, we'll wait for the opportunity to strike. It's even better if we don't have to do anything. After all, there's someone who's more anxious than us. At least on the surface. Break. Inside the control room of the limitless Silver Wing, after another 2 months, Chen Hao had finally condensed his true essence to the limit and began his charge. A stronger and more terrifying wave of energy burst out from the seal formed by Heavenly Lord Yunru. This made Heavenly Lord Yunru, who was next to him, nervous. He had no choice but to activate his energy frantically to stabilize the seal. The whole process lasted for more than an hour. In the end, it was a success. Phew! The later stage of the human celestial stage. This is the power of the later stage of the human celestial stage. It's strong, very strong. It's stronger than I imagined. Chen Hao let out a long sigh. He was very excited as he sensed the power in his body. Now, my strength is at least 25 times stronger than when I was at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. When Chen Hao stepped into the medium stage of the human celestial stage, his strength was 5 times stronger than when he was at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. When he stepped into the later stage of the human celestial stage, his strength was 5 times stronger than when he was at the middle stage of the human celestial stage. That was 25 times. And this was just his strength. What about his final combat strength? Even stronger. If Heavenly Lord Yuanru knew that Chen Hao was hiding the real number from him, he would be ashamed. Phew. It's finally done. If it wasn't good, my old bones would have fallen apart. An hour? A whole hour? It's just the barrier of the later stage of the human celestial stage. How much stronger is it than when I was at the later stage of the human celestial stage? Heavenly Lord Yuanru looked at Chen Hao, who had calmed down and was full of energy. He should have been shocked and excited, but he was already a little numb. He had been stimulated so many times that he was a little used to it. Little junior brother's specific combat strength can only be known after a battle. But I estimate that it's no less than the initial stage of the heaven celestial stage, and that's according to the upper class of the Asian Ing planet. Senior brother, thank you very much. Just as Heavenly Lord Yuanru was still estimating Chen Hao's real strength, Chen Hao opened his eyes. His face was full of excitement as he stood up. How much have you improved? Not much, crash, wow, no way. Just as Chen Hao was a little proud of himself and a little unwilling to reveal his real strength so as not to be too discouraging, there was a sudden uproar and exclamation in the control room. What's going on? Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not have time to ask Chen Hao. He rushed out of the control room in a flash. Chen Hao was also a little curious and hurriedly followed him out. As soon as he stepped into the control room, a strange, mysterious, and dense fluctuation appeared clearly in Chen Hao's perception. Chen Hao could not help but look at the source of the fluctuation. It was Bailey Ningbing, whom Chen Hao had disdained. Lawless, thoughtless, formless. Epiphany? At that moment, Heavenly Lord Yuanru's voice, which was almost a whisper, reached Chen Hao's ears. Epiphany? Chen Hao was a little dumbfounded. Epiphany, berserk demon state, any one of these was a legendary rare opportunity. It was something that every cultivator dreamed of. Once one entered the state of epiphany, they would be able to link up with the heavens and earth. They would not be restricted by any laws and would comprehend the laws of heaven and earth at an unimaginable speed. Whether it was the soul or the state of mind, they would be greatly improved. There was a barrier? Break? I'll break it for you again. Everyone's silence. Immediately enter the state of epiphany. Bailey Ningbing has already entered the state of epiphany. This is a great opportunity that can only be encountered by chance. It's not only good for her, but also for everyone present. Withdraw from the second world and feel with all your heart. In fact, when Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not speak, some astute and knowledgeable cultivators had already immersed themselves in the state of epiphany. As for those cultivators who had only heard of epiphany but never had the chance to see it, when they heard Heavenly Lord Yuanru's words, they also rushed to immerse themselves in the state of epiphany. Including Chen Hao. Including Heavenly Lord Yuanru and Heaven Immortal. The entire Silver Wing airship fell into silence. Only a dense aura shrouded everyone. The endless laws of the world seemed to penetrate through the void and drifted around them. Whether they could see and feel it or not depended on their own comprehension and luck. Without a doubt, at this moment, if they were not in the sealed Silver Wing but in the vast universe galaxy, Bailey Ningbing would definitely be able to trigger a terrifying amount of heaven and earth energy fluctuations. But now, there were only laws of heaven and earth that transcended the constraints of space. Even so, the benefits were still enormous. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Bailey Ningbing's epiphany was still ongoing, and the dense aura around her became denser and denser. No one knew what Bailey Ningbing had comprehended, but her face, neck, hands, and all the exposed skin began to emit a faint golden glow. This golden light contained an eternal aura. Although it was very, very weak, so weak that no one could sense it, of course, at this moment, no one could sense it. It comprehended it, comprehended it. I actually comprehended it. Finally, after close to half an hour, the mist emitted by Bailey Ningbing finally disappeared. She opened her eyes that were shining with a faint golden light. She was so excited that she couldn't control herself. A bell-like laughter burst out from Bailey Ningbing's mouth. Her laughter was unbridled, arrogant, and excited. Her laughter was like the branches of a flower trembling in the wind. Everyone also opened their eyes and looked at Bailey Ningbing. There was envy, jealousy, exclamation, and indifference, all sorts of complex emotions, swirling in everyone's heart. As she smiled, Bailey Ningbing looked at Chen Hao, who had already appeared in the cabin, to her surprise. She was still smiling, but her eyes were filled with ridicule, provocation, and an indescribable emotion that no one could understand. Not even she herself. And under this gaze, the only one who was so indifferent that he did not even look at Bailey Ningbing was Chen Hao. He leisurely walked to the side of the sisters, sat down, took out the spirit helmet and put it on. His movements were smooth and calm. Yes, very calm. But it was this calmness that, in Bailey Ningbing's eyes, became the strongest slap to Chen Hao's face. It made Bailey Ningbing very angry, so angry that she wanted to directly kill Chen Hao. How could this be? Shouldn't he be shocked? Shouldn't he be envious? That's right, that's a slap to his face. Look, I'm such an outstanding person, yet you ignored me. You should be regretting it now, right? Unfortunately, she thought she could see his expression, but she did not see a single one. Chapter 520. Phew. I've advanced 2 stages in a row. In the human celestial stage, except for the top masters, there should be no problem, right? Chen Hao appeared in the second world and sensed the aura of the surrounding cultivators. He compared it with himself again and thought to himself. At different heights, one would have different horizons, and they would be able to understand themselves more clearly. Before you reach the next stage, you would never know how strong the power of the next stage was. Let's get familiar with the current power first. Hiss. Chen Hao went directly to the teleportation device. Request to challenge Arena 301, 100 Celestial Core Crystals. Stepping into the arena again, he was already at the later stage of the human celestial stage. He couldn't challenge low-level cultivators, so he could only challenge the third area. Beep, 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 Wuji Star Chen Hao, later stage of the human celestial stage, 0 battle record, 100 celestial core crystals. Do you accept? Wuji Star? 0 battle record? 100 celestial core crystals to challenge me? It's not even enough for tuition. Rejected. Request to challenge Arena 302, rejected. Request to challenge Arena 303, rejected. After being rejected again and again, 100 times in a row, all the cultivators at the later stage of the human celestial stage were challenged. Chen Hao shook his head gloomily. It seems that no one is interested in 100 celestial core crystals. Of course, more importantly, they don't want to waste a battle opportunity. In the arena, there were 2 ways to obtain the arena champion. For example, there were 100 arenas for the later stage of the human celestial stage. 50 of them were automatically selected by the system of the second world according to yesterday's battle record. These were cultivators who won 10 battles yesterday. The other 50 could be purchased directly with 1,000 celestial core crystals. Both types of arena champions had the opportunity to fight 10 battles. No matter who won or lost, it was 10 consecutive battles. The opponent and the bet were set by oneself. In fact, all the cultivators only had 10 battles in the arena every day. Therefore, there were only a few cultivators who wanted to make money from the arena. Most of them wanted to train themselves, especially the young ones. Therefore, choosing opponents with similar battle records and strength was the most important. Chen Hao's record was 0, which meant that he was a rookie. No one could judge his strength. However, when people heard about the limitless star, they thought that he was at the later stage of the human celestial stage. He had just started the arena, so they thought that Chen Hao was a rookie. Moreover, Chen Hao's stingy bet of 100 celestial core crystals, so who would waste a chance to fight with him? 100 stones was a big number for cultivators at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. But for cultivators at the later stage of the human celestial stage, it was too ordinary. I can only raise the stakes. Alas, you can't blame me for being too ruthless. After Chen Hao thought for a while, the corners of his mouth curled up into an evil smile as he thought to himself. What was this feeling called? Keep a low profile and act tough. I have a record of 0, and I'm a cultivator from the limitless star, which is ranked last among the 1008 planets. Who would think highly of me? However, although Chen Hao was not sure that he could win against all 100 arena champions, at least half of them, Chen Hao felt that he could win. Well, it was a feeling, not a certainty. After all, he was not even familiar with his own strength after advancing 2 stages in a row. Raise the bet to 1,000 crystals. Start the challenge from number 301 again. Wait a minute. Sorry, number 301 blacklisted you. Sorry, number 302. Fuck? It can't be, right? I've only challenged once and I've been blacklisted? Chen Hao was depressed. If he had known this would happen, he would have used underhanded means from the beginning. Why did he have to be kind? Beep, beep, beep. At this moment, to Chen Hao's surprise, there was a communication request. Senior brother, what's the matter? After Chen Hao saw that it was Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, he hurriedly answered the call. You're in the arena, right? It's super depressing. I've just started the challenge and all 100 arena champions have rejected me. Ha! Don't be depressed, this is very normal. Firstly, the cultivators on the Wuxia planet follow the rules. For people from other planets, there's nothing worth learning. Secondly, you're in the later stage of the human celestial stage, but your record is still 0. You haven't even participated in a single battle. Everyone thinks that you must be at the bottom of the Wuxia planet. Then what should I do? At first, I bet 100 celestial core crystals. It's a little too little. But now that I've raised it to 500, I've been blacklisted. I can't even send in an application. This is normal too. Think about it, how many cultivators are there in the arena? How many arenas are there? There are too many people who have sent in an application. They don't have the time to bargain for you. Also, everyone only has 10 chances a day. No one wants to waste it on you. Alright, that's why I'm looking for you. You'd better leave the second world and re-enter as an early-stage human celestial. Is that okay? Of course. You've broken through 2 stages in a row. Although it's a good thing, you've lost the training of the early stage and the middle stage. At least in the arena, you'll lose the recognition of your record. So, when you leave the second world and re-enter, just raise your aura to the early stage human celestial stage. When you re-enter the second world, your cultivation will be limited to the early stage human celestial stage. Many cultivators who don't have a solid foundation use this method to make up for it. Okay, that's good. Thank you for your reminder, I'll do it right away. Swish. After saying that, Chen Hao left the second world directly. He had wasted a day's entrance fee and the teleportation fee. But he had no choice. Chen Hao, who had been surging with battle intent, didn't want to wait for another day. Condense. After his mind and soul returned, Chen Hao condensed his aura again. But this time, he controlled his aura and true core strength to the early stage human celestial stage. It's really amazing. When he re-entered the second world, Chen Hao clearly felt that his cultivation had really changed to the early stage human celestial stage. His physique and true core strength were exactly the same. The only thing that couldn't be changed was his comprehension of the law of heaven and earth and the use of his strength. Strictly speaking, this was somewhat unfair. Chen Hao could only be regarded as an early stage false human celestial stage. This was like a master whose strength had been sealed. His strength was indeed small, but his knowledge and state of mind were still that of a master. Such a person, under the same level of strength, would definitely display a much higher battle prowess. This time, I'll use money to knock you out. Let's see who still won't accept my challenge. With the previous experience, Chen Hao didn't want to be blacklisted this time. 500 gold coins. I challenge number 101. Sorry, the other party rejected me. No way. The first person Chen Hao was rejected again. Damn it, do you think I'm stupid? If you dare to bet 500 gold coins, you must have a great chance of defeating me. It's not like there are no masters in the Wuji Star, just like Bailey Ningbing. I'll definitely lose if I fight her. Chen Hao didn't know that the first person he challenged was scolding him in his heart. You're tuning into the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.